Hi guys, welcome back to Chris Cowlin's channel for this live Premier League watch-along between Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle United. How are you feeling about it, Spurs fans? Has the injury crisis with an added dollop of illness outbreak made you think, I'm slightly apathetic about this? Obviously, I want us to win, but what are our chances against a team who've won 5 on the spin, kept 4 clean sheets in a row? But do you know what? I've got a strange feeling that because we're like such underdogs going into this game, we might be surprised. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. Do get involved in the comments, and I will be answering your comments and getting the engagement going throughout. Also, of course, this is Chris Cowlin's channel. Make sure you give us a like. Make sure you subscribe to his channel at Chris Cowlin on YouTube if you haven't already. And as you can see in the bottom left there, my YouTube handle at Barnaby Slater _. Give me a subscribe there as well, as I'm on the chase to get to 15,000 subscribers. Chris Cowlin will be at the game today and posting throughout the game, and also bringing you the post-match press conferences on his channel. So keep an eye on that throughout, and he will be back here after the game with his usual Spurs Chat podcast. That will be at about 3:30, where he'll be joined by Ricky Norwood, Craig Dearman, and Johnny Bow. Also, before I get into the team news, absolutely delighted to tell you once again that the Spurs Chat podcast has been nominated in the Sport Podcast Awards 2025 in the category Best Team Podcast. Please do give Chris's Spurs Chat podcast a vote. Let's get him to the trophy, Tottenham's first trophy of many this season, let's hope. And you can vote for the Spurs Chat podcast by clicking on the links in the description box below. So let's get into that team news. It's fair to say, after yesterday's news about the illness outbreak, the palsy that has swept through the Tottenham Hotspur training ground, I was a little bit worried about today. But I also had a little inkling that maybe a few of those players might find their way in the team, despite basically not having trained all week. And I can't tell you right now whether I think that's a good thing or a bad thing. Do you remember that West Ham Lasagna Gate game? We managed to get quite a lot of those first teamers onto the pitch, but a lot of them were kind of puking. And in the end, of course, we lost that game and didn't get into the Champions League that year. Sorry. So will it be like that, or are these players actually fit? Well, here is the team. Brandon Austin makes his debut for Tottenham Hotspur in goal, something that we didn't ever think would happen realistically, but he is going to make his debut, and I think it might be his first and last game for the club. And that is based on some transfer news that is coming in this morning that I will discuss in a second. But Austin starts. Porro and Spence are the fullbacks. Jed Spence obviously coming in at left back for Destiny Udogi's out for 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury. Dragoshin and Gray resume their partnership at centre back. And then in midfield, Lucas Bergvall gets what I think is his first. Am I right in thinking it's his first Premier League start in the kind of 6th position? Pape Matar joins him. So a lot of energy in that midfield alongside Deki Kulusevski, who gets that start in the 8-10 role ahead of James Maddison, who has, of course, been sick for the last couple of weeks. Then in the forward line, Brennan Johnson on the right, Dominic Solanke up front. Glad that he's had a rest this week for the first time in a long time, because we haven't had 2 games this week. And then Timo Werner comes in for Son Heung-min. I saw Ange Postecoglou do his pre-match press conference. He was asked why Werner's starting. He said he felt that Werner's pace could cause Newcastle trouble in behind early in the game. Now, for me, based on the last 2 times Eddie Howe has brought Newcastle to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, they've actually looked to do kind of similar to what Wolves did last week and sit pretty deep and then hit us on the break. So I'm not that sure there will be a lot of space in behind Tino Livramento and Newcastle's right back. But it'll be interesting to see whether Ange is right and sees it differently. On the bench for Spurs, Whiteman, Reguilon, Dorrington, Hardy, Bissouma, Maddison, Olasesi, Son, and Lancashire. The Newcastle team, Dubravka in for Nick Pope, then Livramento, Botman is back, Byrne, Hall, Guimaraes, Tonali, Joe Linton, Murphy, Gordon, and Isak. So basically the direct opposite of Spurs, in that they've got pretty much their strongest team going. On the bench, Trippier, Barnes, Asula, Vlachodimos, Almiron, Kelly, Willock, Longstaff, and Miley. So this morning, I'm sure you Spurs fans have seen lots of news, including from the transfer Don himself, that Fabrizio Romano has announced, as have some other reputable ITK journalists, that Spurs are very close now to signing Slavia Prague goalkeeper Antonin Kinski. He's actually in London today for his medical and is expected to sign after the game. The verbal agreement is done between all the parties involved, including the player side, and The deal is worth around 15 million euros plus add-ons, and a sell-on clause is being finalized for him. David Ornstein, who is up there with Fabrizio Romano in terms of journalists you can really trust with this stuff, he says that Kinski is being signed to compete as number one goalkeeper with Vicario, not just as a reserve. He's 21 years old. Obviously, I'd be lying to say if I said that I'd seen a lot of him, but from the very little I've seen of him, he is, I think, Tottenham's first properly modern goalkeeper, by which I mean he is a proper footballer, a ball player. He likes to play those balls into six, get it back. He's not afraid to even beat a striker with a little drop of the shoulder, and his distribution, from the very little I've seen, is modern and excellent. Lovely side long-range kicks, setting up goals, kind of Alisson and Ederson-esque style. So for me, I think it's what Tottenham Hotspur needed to do, and they've made the right decision to go for a young, modern, exciting goalkeeper. He's played Champions League games. He's played a lot of league games at 21, so that's good too. Someone who can compete with Vicario rather than somebody coming in like a Sam Johnson, who was being rumoured to be on our list earlier this week, and just come in as a backup. No, I think Vicario needs pressure on him, and he's 6'2", Kinski, so I wouldn't mind if he was a couple of inches taller, but that's not going to happen. But he's big enough, and in terms of the ceiling and the possible improvement, I think it's a good decision from the little I've seen. We're going to have to give him time, obviously, but I mean, maybe if he does sign in the next day or two, unless they've got some kind of loan back to Slavia Prague deal going, maybe he'll even play in the week against Liverpool. Who knows? Anyway, in terms of this game, as the players come out onto the pitch, Deki Kulusevski captains the side today. I'm excited for him. I do think he could be a potential future Tottenham Hotspur captain, Deki Kulusevski, and let's hope he can lead us by the scruff of the throat, the scruff of the neck, to some kind of performance today, because it's going to be very difficult, like I said, against a team who have won 5 on the spin. Obviously, Austin in goal. Probably never expected to play a Premier League game for Spurs, so a lot of pressure on the young kid. It'll be interesting to see how he does. And like I said, because of this illness bug that's gone through the team, who knows what's going to happen. I'm excited to see Bergvall start. I wanted him to start the last game ahead of Basuma, and today he does. And a chance for him to lay down a marker to really get a starting berth in this team. It kind of reminds me a bit of when we went to Milan and had to play Oliver Skip and Pape Matar in midfield, and they both did an amazing job, didn't they? And hopefully Lucas Bergvall, Pape Matar, and Deki Kulusevski do, all three of them do an amazing job in that midfield. How do you feel? Let me know in the comments about Son not starting and Werner starting. Do you think Sonny's being rested for that Liverpool game? Is that what that's about? Or is it more like a performance-related thing? Because Sonny did not have the greatest game in the last one. I was particularly critical of him. I thought he was poor, not just because he missed the penalty, just decision-making was poor. He was kind of really, just his touch wasn't great and his passing wasn't good. So maybe that's why Werner's come in. But is Werner going to let the ball roll under his feet and go off the pitch over and over again like he has done all season? Who knows? James Maddison, of course, once again, not starting. Kulusevski picked ahead of him in that 8-10 role, and Brennan Johnson comes in on the right. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments. In terms of Newcastle, they've, like I said, got pretty much their full team out. Maybe perhaps the only potential weakness is Dubravka in goal, but the fact that I'm saying that maybe means now he'll have his best performance in a long time. But if memory serves, he's had a dodgy game or two against Spurs previously, and I do like Nick Pope as a goalkeeper. So maybe we can put some pressure on Dubravka. But Botman back for them. He's a good player, and they look strong throughout. Listen, Ange Postecoglou has come out this week and he's confirmed that Romero, Van der Ven and Ben Davis won't be available in January at all. In fact, not expecting them back until February now, which is pretty devastating, because I think we were all hoping they'd be back in the middle of January. So not only is this going to be a difficult game today for Tottenham Hotspur, but in reality, with the Liverpool first leg semi-final coming on Wednesday, we've just got to do anything we can to try and get results in these two games, no matter how we do it. So it looks like we're about to kick off. How are you guys feeling? Let's get into the comments and see. G Moore says, if not, then it's Werner over Son would be a rotation move. Billy Four Eyes says, I think Maddison is under the weather. Twanvo says, Sonny is rested. He needs a break. Tom Bowdler, new goalie sounds good. How on earth is he so cheap, though? I mean, I think buying from the Czech Republic, Slavia Prague, is somewhere where you can get players relatively cheap, as was shown when Petr Cech joined Chelsea back in the day. Jazz Singh says the new keeper looks decent. He has good stats. Spurs kicking from right to left in this first half. And there shouldn't be too much of a delay, so I should be able to keep up with you guys in the comments for most of the game today. And we've kicked off. And Dragishin with the big long one out towards Sarr to start off. Werner keeps it on and heads it back to Sarr. Into Bergvall, whose first touch is good and goes back to Archie Gray. Archie Gray then just plays it off the pitch down the left-hand touchline. Gardu says, I'd say general weight of captaincy and own self-critical pressure, not to mention the demands for high-intensity performance may be affecting some of Sonny's performances. He must relax more. Yeah, it's a good point. I think you could be right. Newcastle doing well in the midfield there, and Lucas Bergvall makes his first foul. And actually, interestingly, just before we kicked off today, I was going to say, if I was still a betting man, I would be betting on Lucas Bergvall to get a booking in this game because he can go into challenges late. He does love to try and nick the ball off the opponent, and he's been booked in pretty much every game I've seen him play. And, you know, he got a little early one in there on, who is it? It's Livramento. And Bergvall actually appealing for the foul for himself, but actually it was definitely, he just got his body in the way of Livramento there. And Livramento is still down. Looks like he's winded to me. Guys, 1,000 of you, over 1,000 of you watching, thank you so much for your support. Please do press that like button if you haven't already. Let's get this watch-along seen by as many Spurs fans as we can. They get it into their suggested videos on YouTube. And as ever, make sure you do subscribe to Chris Cowlin's YouTube channel, @Chris Cowlin, and give me a little subscribe as well. I'm chasing that 15,000 subscribers. Trying to get up there @Barnaby Slater _, and I'll bring you daily Tottenham Hotspur content, but also in January, I'm bringing you daily Premier League transfer news and rumours, starting as always, of course, with my beloved Spurs. So give me a subscribe. And as I mentioned before, Chris will be back with the Spurs Chat podcast round about 3:30 this afternoon. So make sure you stay on the channel for that. Early break in play here because of Livramento's I think he's winded realistically, but yeah, if it's not too late, I don't know what odds you'll get. Probably not great odds, but Bergvall to get booked would be up there. Spurs, as the commentator's just saying, haven't won since November the 3rd in the Premier League. Just putting the press on now. Werner putting the press on Dan Burn and Spence going up the pitch. Oh, and Bergvall picks it up in midfield, lets the ball bounce, and then plays it across to Pape Matar, who goes out wide to Werner. He's got Jed Spence making a run outside him, so he comes narrow. Put it into Deki Kulusevski, tries to cross, and that's an early corner for Spurs. Well done. We looked a little more dangerous from corners in the last game, didn't we? Obviously, it was Rodrigo Bentancur who got the goal. He seems to be the only Spurs player who can score from headers from corners, but Dragusin did have a chance that went just wide. And blimey, O'Reilly, Timo Werner taking this corner for Spurs. Here it comes. He goes short with it. Oh, my God. That is the most Werner thing I've ever seen. He tried to play a short ball, and he played it straight to Anthony Gordon. Deary me. Deary me. That is just embarrassing for Werner. And just one of... And here's Austin's first touch. And he goes wide out to Porro, who does well down the line to Bergvall, who gave him a really good option there. Brilliant run from Bergvall, driving through midfield. Lays it outside to Johnson, who has to go backwards. Porro comes in with a cross. Chance here for Solanke. He scored! Brilliant goal from Tottenham Hotspur. 3rd minute. That was wonderful play. What a goal that is. Austin passed it to Porro, who then plays it down the line to Bergvall, who drove through the centre of midfield. And I've been wanting Bergvall to start for Basuma, and that's why. He lays it out to Johnson, who lays it back to Porro, and his first-time cross is absolutely brilliant onto the head of Solanke, who Kane-esque heads it into the bottom left-hand corner. Brilliant. And do you know what? Dominic Solanke in the middle, it is a picture-perfect cross from Porro, but Dominic Solanke in the middle out-muscles Botman. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm so pleased for Brandon Austin there, whose first time they're just showing Thomas Tuchel in the box in the stands because he's watching his first game as officially as England manager. And Solanke will have impressed him there with his strength. But it was, for me, Lucas Bergvall driving through the midfield that really made that goal. But here come Newcastle on the left-hand side. Porro and Johnson. It's too easy for them to get to the byline here. Great cross. And Archie Gray does brilliantly ahead of Austin to head it out for a corner. And there was dangers that the crowd could be apathetic. Oh, I'll tell you what, they're putting Big Dan Burn and Tonali and Isak on Brandon Austin. They're just pushing him out the way here as the in-swing is going to come onto his head. And here it comes. He's got to be strong here, Austin. And he claims it well. Good lad. So pleased for him. That's a great first claim for him. And also the fact that he set up that goal with his first pass into Porro. Anyway, great. Brilliant. Oh, Bergvall's just giving it away, and they're in down the left here. Big chance for Newcastle. He's taken it wide, and he scored. Watching Spurs. Spurs appealing for a handball. They're claiming a handball. If it hits the hand, it has to be. Bergvall really wants this to be a handball because he was given a dodgy pass. It is a handball. That has to be disallowed. Bergvall was given a difficult pass from Pape Matsai. He had to try and get a toe on it, and it hits Joe Linton's hand. And as a result, this goal should be ruled out. It's a brilliant finish from Gordon. So, Ali McCoist on co-coms. He's given the goal. The rule is supposed to be any handball in the build-up to a goal is disallowed. That is a joke. That is a joke. The rule is supposed to be any handball in the build-up to a goal. Ali McCoist can fuck off. I cannot believe that. That's against the rules. That is a complete joke. And when everything's going against you, it just keeps going against you. Absolute joke. Absolute joke. Like, the rule is literally, if there's any handball in the build-up to a goal, it's supposed to be disallowed. What the fuck is going on? Brennan Johnson now on the right. Fans are in this game, but it should be 1-0 to Spurs and isn't. And that referee on Bergvall's giving it away again in midfield, but fortunately, we get the second one back. Porro's still down. I cannot believe that. Can I have a look what you guys are saying in the comments? How is that? Please tell me in the comments how that has not been disallowed. I don't understand it. The rule is supposed to literally be, and Ange is going off on the halfway line. And Porro's been fouled by Joe Linton, and that should be a booking, but obviously won't be. What is going... Honestly, answer me how that has not been disallowed. I do not understand it. Oh, Ali McCoist on CoComs having a go for us trying to play out. It's hit the guy's hand. It hit Joe Linton's hand, and as a result, the ball passed to their player. Do you know what? I really hope Spurs put in a performance here and manage to win this game, because it will really fucking stick one up on Newcastle and the referees. Good ball over the top there for Solanke chasing, and Burn kicks it out. I can't believe that. Just don't get it. The rule is supposed to be... Anyway, just stop banging on about it. See what you guys are saying in the comments. They change it so it's only just if it hits the goal scorer's hand or arm. It's not natural, but how can it be? What does it matter if it's in a natural position when the ball hits the player's hand and the ball then passes to the opposition player as a result? It's a complete joke. Anywhere else on the pitch, that's given as a handball as well, by the way. Complete joke. Oh, well done. Spurs are in here with Solanke. Oh, and he tries to find Werner, but the pass isn't there, and Livramento cuts it out. The fans are in this game, though. Livramento runs away from Werner, and that's too easy there. And Spence gets a tackle in and comes to Archie Gray, who, as usual, very composed on the ball. Finds Jed Spence. And Spence tries to take on his man, Willock. Not Willock. Spence throws it to Bergvall. His first touch isn't great, and he plays another scary ball into Dragichin, who clears it first time. Byrne wins the second one. Joe Linton plays a good ball and a good tackle there from Kulusevski, but is unlucky. Kulusevski looks absolutely pumped for this, and they've won it high, and that should be a booking. That should be a booking. It's broken to Johnson, who's totally on his own, but he's through. Johnson. Chance here for Solanke. Oh, it's blocked. And it comes to Pape Matsao. He might have a dig from outside the box. It's not a good effort. The best thing about this so far is that the fans are properly in it at the Tottenham Stadium. They are livid at how that goal has not been disallowed. And so for the first time in a long time, they're really up for this. Oh, Gordon plays a good ball across his own midfield to Livramento. Does well against Werner. Oh, and Newcastle have broken the press well here. Isak's got it on the halfway line, but he's played a ball far too far. And Austin collects it and gets good early distribution out to Sarr, who gives a bit of a dodgy ball to Bergvall. Once again, it goes to Porro. Spurs under a bit of pressure here. Dragichin. Oh, he's got nothing on. Dragichin is, dearie me. And Archie Gray in the end is the one who absolutely whacks it forward. And Newcastle let that bounce. Oh, and they put themselves under a bit of pressure here, Newcastle. Solanke with his press doing really well. Dubravka gives it back to his centre-halves, though. What's he given here, the ref? He's being booed here. Even if that rule has been changed, how is it right that it hits the player's hand and bounces straight into the path of the striker? And now the commentator's having a go about Spurs making mistakes. It's bollocks that it's a mistake. It's a fucking handball, you prick. Winds me up. Shut up, McCoist. Staying solid. He passed the ball. We were going to be in down the right-hand side, and it hits the man's hand and goes straight into the path of their attacker. It's a joke. Jed Spence now on the left with a throw-in. Goes down the line to Werner. Takes a decent touch. Goes to Spence. Back to Pape Sarr and has to come to Archie Gray. Plays it across to Dragichin. Opens his body up. Gives it to Bergvall. Turns away. Nice on the half turn into Pape Sarr. Into Spence. Tries to dink it over towards Bergvall. But Newcastle get it under control and play it all the way across to the left-hand side where there's always space against Spurs. So it's Hall. Out wide to Gordon. Down the line to Joe Linton, who's up against Dragichin, who's out of position here out wide. Porro does well to get a foot in, and actually it's a Spurs throw. Well done. The fans love that. This is what we needed, to be honest, is to get the fans behind us, but I cannot believe that goal is counted, honestly. It's a complete joke. That is one of the worst decisions I've seen in such a long time. And just when it rains, it pours, doesn't it? Really does. Doug Hill says, every week we watch goals thrown away in all leagues by watching ridiculous plays from the back, especially in the centre of the last third. Tactics out the window. Don't know what you're saying there, really. Gardu says, they're saying the arms are in a natural position that Joe was too close to Lucas for it to be intentional or something. It's not about intentional anymore. He set up a goal. It's literally a handball that has set up a goal. Joe Linton now trying to get in a scrap with Bergvall. And the fans now chanting, you're not fit to referee. Oh, Porro has just thrown it straight to Joe Linton, and Dragichin ploughed through the back of Isak. And of course he's given a foul. He got the ball, but he's given a foul. Dragichin looks so frustrated. It was a terrible throw, though. No, it's a foul. It's a dangerous area as well. 15th minute. Oh, and the commentator just giving it the hex by saying none of Newcastle's back four have scored this season as they they're going to put a dangerous free kick in towards Austin. I hope Spurs can show a little bit of mentality here in this game, some professionalism, and really try and get one of these Newcastle players sent off. Porro's just gone down off the ball against Isak. He's claiming it's a dive, but the fans are into this, so we've got to use that. Here comes the in-swinger from Gordon. It's over the top. Austin comes and claims well. Good lad. And he goes for an early throw, but it's to Kulusevski who doesn't have the pace for that, and he's got to realise that, Austin, because we've given away the ball now, and Newcastle are on the counter with Livramento. Tries to put into Tonali, and Jed Spence tackles well. Come on, Spurs. Let's make another chance. Sarr. Good ball from Sarr into Solanke. Spurs have 3 men up against 3 here, but he's got to pay the right ball here. And that's a yellow card for Burn. It has to be, and is. Well played, Solanke. This is what the fans have to do. The team have to ride off the fans' annoyance here, and they have to get a Newcastle player sent off. That's what has to happen here. Make it a really scrappy game like that. Make sure we make the right decisions. Jed Spence plays it inside to Bergvall, who's offering some really good options for Spurs early on. He goes for the long ball over the top, and it's a great ball to Johnson, who didn't read it. And it goes off for a throw-in. Beautiful crossfield ball from Bergvall. Gardy says Spurs energy is fantastic. Must make it count for legs disappear later in this half and the second half. Yeah, I agree with you. Pape Matsar does well in midfield. Dragishin under a bit of pressure with his touch there, but does well. Goes down the line, but goes off for a throw-in. Billy Four Eyes, the way footballers overemphasize the lightest contact in his tackle is embarrassing. I agree, but what can you do? Guys, do give this video a like on YouTube if you haven't already, or wherever you're watching. 1,500 of you watching right now. Thanks so much for your support. Come on, let's get behind this Spurs team. Anyway, the ball comes across now to Livramento. He's got loads of space on the right. Drives forward into it. Sarr is helping Spence out, and Spence puts the press on. So it goes back to... Oh, well played, Timo Werner, who wins it off, I think, Botman, but cannot keep it on, unfortunately. Unlucky, Timo. 18 minutes gone. 1-1. Should be 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Just cannot get my head around that. And I can't get my head around how the commentators are saying it's fine when literally it's a pass with a hand. How can that not be a handball? A pass with a hand. Ridiculous. Tonali lays it out to Dan Burn. Johnson putting the press on. Porro putting the press on Anthony Gordon, who turns away from him well. Good tackle from Bergvall. I love that from Bergvall. And a good ball into Solanke. And now Kulusevski driving into the right-hand side. Tries to cross it and it's a corner. Good stuff, Bergvall there. Yeah, Phil C says must be the first goal in the Premier League this season where a handball gets the assist. I guess it's a pre-assist realistically. But anyway, Pedro Porro is going to take this out swinging corner. Come on, Tottenham. Let's get ahead again. Let's keep the fans behind us. Sean says players clearly playing for the manager. I agree. Come on, Pedro. Here it comes. It hits the near post, unfortunately. Comes out to Gray on the edge. He wins the first one, but the second one's won. And Bergvall wins the next one and heads it out wide. But Newcastle are able to clear it. It goes out for a throw-in. I thought Ange Postecoglou made a really good point in his pre-match interview where he said, you know, I'm not making excuses for this. We're going through a difficult time, but because of that, we will be better at the end of it. And I keep telling the players, we will be better off the back of this, and we just got to get through it. And I agree with him, actually, as Gray goes back to Austin. Austin does look relatively comfortable with the ball at his feet and plays a good ball into Solanke. takes it on the half turn, but Burn wins it off him. And now Newcastle are in at us. They're in down the left again. Gordon, exactly the same chance. Good save near post, Austin. He had to make that save, Austin. It's not pretty. He goes down in installments a little bit, but he gets there. It would have been bad if he'd let it in. It's a corner to Newcastle. J Vlog says, need to see this effort every game. I'd say we do see this effort every game at the beginning of every game. Here comes the corner. And they put it on Austin's head, and he's coming again, and he gets a fist on it. Doesn't go that far, and he's given a foul against. Well done, Austin. And TNT Sports trying to suggest that he should be Spurs' number one now. It's been a good start for Austin. He's being brave. Good kid. Austin goes mid-range pass. Timo does well to bring that down and plays a good ball to Jed Spence. Needs options now, Spence. They didn't have any. And as a result, Newcastle have got the ball and they've got bodies going forward as well. And Kulusevski fouls Livramento there, and it's a good foul to give away. "22 minutes gone. There is space on this football pitch, that's for sure. Newcastle are being a little more forward-thinking than they were in the last two games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I'd say. They're going to... Coy's exclamation mark says, stupid mistakes playing out from the back has to stop. I don't think it's as simple as that, mate. Like, if the ball hits an opposition player's hand and it goes into the path of their striker, that's got to not be a goal. It's a joke. Anyway, Gordon has this free kick. 22 minutes gone. He's just going to plow it up into the box. Spurs keeping their line about 25 yards out. Here it comes. Be strong here, Archie Gray. He wins the first one. Does well. Chance for a shot outside the box for Newcastle low. Oh, they've done well to get it wide right. Good football towards the back stick. And that goes off for a goal kick. It was Jacob Murphy with the cross. Newcastle had four men out wide right there. It's a good cross. And actually Spence was in a decent position at the back post. Anyway, Austin now with the goal kick. And he throws it to Archie Gray to take the goal kick, who then gives it to Austin, who then dinks it into midfield towards Solanke, who flicks it on well. And that should be a foul against Burn, but obviously it isn't. Yes, Ali McCoy agrees with me. Papisar putting the press on now, and Solanke putting the press on as well. Heavy touch from Newcastle, and that's a foul from Sarr over pressing. It's actually Botman who's gone down, but I don't mind that. Botman on the floor still complaining, taking his rest, which is something that, of course, we know Tottenham don't do when they get free kicks. They don't take a rest. They do it very quickly, which is why, in my opinion, the muscles never get a chance to recover and why we suffer so many muscle injuries. 25 minutes gone. Newcastle play a long one over the top. Oh, and that is too easy in behind Jed Spence. And he puts the pressure on Livramento and does well in the end, Jed Spence. And the ball comes to Austin, who picks it up and should give it to Archie Gray now. I don't know why he hasn't. He's gone for a long throw instead to Pedro Porro. Oh, beautiful stuff from Porro. Lovely. And that's another handball. Thank you. Oh, the ref gives that handball, though. He gives that handball, but not the one for the goal. If that handball is down by his side, then it shows how embarrassing that ref is. And it was. It's here. It's exactly the same. And he should also, it's Burn who's been booked, and he should be sent off for that. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke because Spurs were in on the attack then. And so the ref hasn't given a booking for him because he's been booked already. Honestly, this referee. Tom Boda says McCoist is a bell end. Don't waste your blood pressure on him. I quite like Ali McCoist, I have to say, but obviously he's probably not a huge fan of Ange because Ange is Celtic. 25 minutes gone. Spurs 1, Newcastle 1. Spurs are in this game as the ball gets played over the top and Austin clears it well. The ref has absolutely bottled it there. Newcastle now, they take their throw in quickly and they've got bodies going forward. He's bottled that because basically what Burn has done by sticking his hand out has stopped an attack for Spurs, and that should be a booking. Stopping a transition. We're literally going through. He's bottled it because he's already booked him. And, you know, he can't have it both ways because he doesn't give the handball for the Newcastle goal for a very similar handball. And then he does give this one but doesn't book him for it. Anyway, Jed Spence does well there under pressure and turns away to Archie Gray, who gives it to Lucas Bergvall, who goes back to Austin. Good stuff from Spurs. Keeping the ball. Austin plays another mid-range ball into Newcastle central, into our midfield. Brennan Johnson does well to get back there on Joe Linton, but good play between Joe Linton and Gordon and Isak, and they're going to be in down the left here. And they are with Joe Linton, who's at the byline. Porro's there, and Porro does well to get it off for a corner. Doug Hill says another long ball down the middle, which we lose again. Yeah, only because he didn't have any options to play it short, Doug. So we can't have it both ways, where some people are complaining that he plays it short too much, but then when he doesn't have the option, he goes down the middle towards Solanke. Solanke's great at that, but he can't win every single one of them. Anyway, Newcastle goes short. It comes to Gordon outside the box, who has looking to have a dig there, but it's blocked. And Werner gets it, and we're on the transition here, and it's 2-on-2. He's got to go narrow here, Timo Werner. He's using his pace, but against the wrong men. He was trying to use his pace against Livramento and Gordon. They were too quick. Anyway, Spurs still have the ball. It comes back to Pape Sarr, who goes across well to Pedro Porro. He's going to have a dig here, Porro, and why not? And it's just over the bar. Tom Bowdler says the pundits on the BBC stream also confused by the handball decision. Take away what the rule, if the rules change, take that away. Just the fact that it hits an opposition player's hand and goes into the path of a forward and takes the entire Spurs team out of play, that is a handball. That is a handball. It's as simple as that. It's a joke. Anyway, Newcastle play a good ball up in central midfield where Joe Linton, as you'd expect, holds off Lucas Bergvall for strength, and Newcastle have possession. They play it around their back line now. Newcastle play it to Hall to the left-hand side, and Spurs just not in the right positions, and it's an easy get out of the press. And Joe Linton now plays it in to Murphy. And that's good football from Newcastle. And they're in down the left here. 2 against 1 on the left. Johnson's not working hard enough to get back. Johnson once again not working hard enough to get back. And in the end, it's Porro who does well to block a pass. Deary me. Brennan Johnson, one of my big bugbears with him is that he has to work harder backwards when we haven't got the ball. He leaves Porro isolated too much. And that was a good chance for Newcastle. And they're coming in down the left as well. And the fullback's gone again. Johnson didn't even see him that time, but they've come out wide to the right. And now Botman. Out wide to Livramento. They're playing some good stuff here, Newcastle. Oh, good stuff. Livramento now coming into the box. Stand up, and Jed Spence stands up, and it's a corner to Newcastle. Gardu says Magpies start settling a lot more now, enjoying moving around with the ball and getting into their game. Spurs will need counters to be precise with short pass sequences to get shots on goal. Yeah, completely agree. Really good point, mate. Another corner for Newcastle. Half an hour gone. And purposely does not complain about referees much during post-match press conferences, but he will say something about that goal. He has to. It's an absolute disgrace. So Tonali, Isak and Byrne trying to push around Austin on the line as they wait for this corner to come in. The ref's got eyes on it. He has given away one foul already against them for this. They're trying to push the Spurs defender into the goalkeeper, which is what the referee has to literally be watching for. And it comes to the near post. And in the end, a Newcastle player has ended up in the goal net, but it's It's a goal kick to Spurs. They've got to get hold of what's happening at corners in the Premier League, these referees. Anyway, Spurs have done it with Jed Spence already. And in the end, Spurs trying to play it out, kick it off for a Newcastle throw. Yeah, J-Vlog says, hate this pushing and pulling nowadays. Yeah, I mean, the Premier League and the refs, they have to get hold of it and just say it shouldn't be allowed any body contact waiting for a corner. Just make it simple. Any body contact, it's a foul, and that's it. And it will stop overnight. Just like the back pass changed overnight, just like a tackle from behind can be a red card, change the way that tackles are made. Anyway, Newcastle, they're really getting into their game now. Spurs have dropped off a little bit. That kind of initial burst of, they're in down the left here. Oh, I'll tell you what, Isak's missed a sitter. So if Isak, not only did he miss a sitter, but if he'd just totally left the ball, Gordon would have had an open goal. But a lot happened during that replay because I could hear the fans. Johnson putting some pressure on Hall here, who will go down and get a free kick probably. And that should be a corner. It's not. It's a goal kick. Phil C says, Spurs now struggling in midfield. I agree. Tottenham can't get the ball down at the moment. J-Blog says, maybe we should bring on Biss at half-time. I don't think so. I don't think so. I want to see Bergvall given a proper chance. I think he started the game well. Great press from Solanke. Wins the ball really high off Newcastle. They're in on the right now, Spurs. What can he find, though? He's not blessed with options here, so he has to take it on another man. Newcastle getting men back now. Bergvall picks it up, goes to Porro. Johnson gives him an option down wide, but comes to Bergvall. He's going to get a cross in. It's a good cross. And it's Botman with a good header. Sarr. Lovely cross from Bergvall, yeah. Oh, and Newcastle have played it out well, and Spurs are absolutely nowhere in midfield. Sarr's trying to get back. It's 4 against 4. Joe Linton now passes it to Gordon, who plays it back to Joe Linton. Good football from Newcastle. Get up. Tries to dive, and that's a corner. But just looking at the midfield, both Bergvall and Kulusevski just jogging back. And in front of them, there was a player totally free for Newcastle. I know it's difficult to get up and down the pitch the whole game. That should actually be a Spurs goal kick. Anyway, here comes the next in-swinging corner. And again, the bodies. Isak trying to push Johnson onto the keeper and Byrne trying to put Dragishin onto the keeper. And here it comes onto the keeper's head. And he punches it away and the ref gives a foul. Well done, Austin. "34 minutes gone. Spurs with another long ball up to central midfield, which we're not winning many of, and it's giving Newcastle possession very easily at the moment." Newcastle Spurs putting the pressure on through Sarr. It goes all the way back to the keeper, who kicks it off wide, but so much space for Joe Linton out wide left. Deary me, and Brennan Johnson is not really sprinting again, and they're in down the left now with Gordon, who's at the byline, and Porro does well again. Another corner for Newcastle. Real inability for Spurs to keep the ball at the moment, and this is a 6th corner for Newcastle. Tottenham have only had 2. Tottenham looking leggy again, despite having had a week's break. Newcastle look a lot more energetic. And here it goes again, onto Austin's head. And Bergvall does well. And Austin gets the second one. And Austin, actually, what you could do, he's looking to do something quick, but if I were him, just let your players get in position and chill out because we need to keep the football for a bit here. And instead, we play it a bit dodgy. Jed Spence takes it on the half turn. He's being pressed. He finds Saar, who should find Bergvall. Takes it on the half turn well, Lucas Bergvall. And he's got space to drive into. And that's the first time since the first minute, or first few minutes. Finds Timo Werner, who's up against two players here, but he takes Livramento on and goes for the early cross, and that's a throw into Spurs. Werner takes it early into Spence, who goes back to Archie Gray. Who goes to Pape Matar. Turns into Lucas Bergvall, gives it back to Saar. Bergvall and Saar are mostly up against three in central midfield at the moment, so they're not controlling, but that was the last attack was good from Bergvall, breaking that press a little bit. Austin now has the ball. And he plays a good pass into Kulusevski. Well done, Brandon Austin, who goes to Porro. And Spurs got a bit of space down the right here. Porro finds Johnson, who finds Deki Kulusevski in the half space. This is good. Oh, and he tried to play a little dink ball through. And as a result, now Newcastle are on the transition. And they go for a straight long one over the top of Dragusin, who's lost flight of the ball there. And Isak gets ahead of him. And that goes off. And Dragusin defends well. And that's a throw into Spurs. That was better, though, Spurs, finding some space down the right-hand side. Porro with the throw. Solanke loses the ball, unfortunately. And Newcastle now on the attack. And Tonali is in. It's 2-on-1 here. They're in down the right-hand side with Murphy. And Livramento's outside him. Oh, it's a good cross. It's a goal. Own goal, Dragusin. Oh, it might be Isak. Once again, we don't stop crosses at source, but it's been coming. Spurs have not been in this game for the last few minutes, and it's Solanke who unfortunately loses the ball from the throw-in. And Tonali just slips in Murphy. And Archie Gray has just dropped a step too far. And Isak finishes it. Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2. Oh, yeah. Well done, Newcastle. You're winning against kids. Frustrating. Yeah, it's the Newcastle fans you can hear because they got a goal from a fucking handball. Piss take. Absolute piss take. Oh, and they play a long ball over Jed Spence, and that hits Murphy and goes off for a Spurs goal kick. Very hard to see Spurs coming back from this, I have to say. I hope I'm wrong. Tottenham really struggling to keep the ball at the moment. Gray to Saar. Saar goes back to Gray, who goes to Austin, who again plays a dink ball through the middle to Solanke, but that's just a bit mindless because Dan Burn. Spurs win it high up, though, with Jed Spence. He plays it to Kulusevski. It hits his heel, of course it does, but bounces to Saar. Kulusevski wide left now. He has Werner with him, but he drives past him. Comes narrow. Has to go back to Saar. He goes to Bergvall. Newcastle have bodies behind the ball. Of course they do. Tempted ball from Saar into Solanke. Goes straight through to the keeper. Now, I've said this before. What Tottenham need to do is find a way to just keep it at 2-1 before half-time and don't do what we did. I think it was against Chelsea or Liverpool or both, where we were still in the game just before half-time and then managed to give away another goal. Johnson's positioning in this game so far has been really poor, I have to say. Oh, and Gordon plays a ball across to Joe Linton. Livramento on the right to Murphy. So much space in this game for Newcastle. Joe Linton in midfield. Plays it out wide. And again, Johnson is nowhere near the fullback. His touch helps him out, though. Johnson is now behind the ball. Into Joe Linton. They're just tapping it about here, Newcastle. Comes out wide right. They're moving us about pretty easily here, Newcastle. Spurs are not on it at this point. Joe Linton in ages of space. Shut up, commentator. Fucking prick. Trying to get a corner, trying to say it's a corner. Let's have a look here close up. Spencer's just trying to see this off for a goal kick. No. It's Livramento it hits last. Spurs are giving the ball away again. But this time, Bergvall gets in a good position and wins it back. Got no one easy ahead of him, so he's got to come now or he'll lose the ball. And he does well there, actually, Bergvall, to get it back to Dragoshin, who then plays a horrible pass to Porro straight off the pitch. And the commentator saying it's nerves. It's not nerves. He's just not great with the ball at his feet. The fans are not in this game anymore, unfortunately. We had our chance when the fans were properly in this to make the most of it. We couldn't. And Newcastle currently showing us why they've won 5 in a row and why we haven't won since November. As they play a long ball over the top and Isak gets it down and Joe Linton's running through with him. Lays it off to Guimaraes. And now Gordon's in down the left. This is going to be a goal, I would have thought. Gordon trying to front it up on his right foot and it goes wide. Deflected wide. Spurs do not have the fitness at the moment or the stamina to play this way. By which I mean particularly Brennan Johnson just being caught ahead of the ball so much that anytime Newcastle have the ball on the left, they're just so dangerous. Here comes the corner. It goes deep this time. First win by Joe Linton, but it's cleared. And Livramento gets the second ball outside the box and tries the big pass out to the right with Hall. Dan Burns, a good option for him there. Oh, God, it's too easy. Finds Guimaraes. Kulusevski dives in. That was dangerous. Chance at the back post now. Big chance. And it's a goal kick. And Newcastle just putting the press so high on Spurs that they're unable to play it short at the moment. And Austin gets rid of everyone, says, I'm going to kick it long. Maybe that's in the hope of getting to half-time. Long ball goes over. Burner trying to put the press on, but it's just late to everything. Ed Spence kicks it off for a throw-in. 1 minute left, but he'll probably find a few minutes added time. The ref, I would have thought, just enough time, I would have thought, to let Newcastle score another goal before half-time. Spurs win it in midfield. Dragoshin gives it to Sarr. Bergvall. 4 added minutes. Oh, Spurs have lost it, but Spence recovers it. Great to Dragoshin. To Sarr, who plays a horrible ball to Porro, and Newcastle win it down the left with Joe Linton. Gave it to Gordon, gets it back. Now to Gordon on the left-hand side. Sarr trying to chase his mistake. At the moment, Spurs are suffering through a lack of energy, but also a lack of technical prowess to play the football that they're looking to play. And Newcastle just thoroughly enjoying nicking the ball off us every time we try and play it around them. As Botman plays a big old crossfield ball there, beautiful, to Gordon, who's got Hall with him. Plays it back to Gordon, to Hall. And Johnson does okay there to win the ball, and Sarr turns away, and Porro's in difficulties, has to chip it into midfield. But he finds Kulusevski, who takes a beautiful first touch. Oh, and then loses it in central midfield. Guimaraes and Tonali were around him, and now Newcastle are on the transition. And of course, they have Murphy out wide right, and Tonali's with him. Murphy comes towards it. It's a good ball to the back post, but Dragusin clears the first one well. Werner easily beaten by Tino Livramento there. And Byrne beats Solanke in central midfield, and Newcastle are coming forward again with Guimaraes and Tonali. Find a nice ball into Isak. They're in down the middle here, but Archie Gray does really well to stop Joe Linton. And Spurs again go for the big one down the middle, and it's just meat and drink, I'm afraid, or food and drink for the Newcastle centre halves. And the Spurs fans not looking delighted. Guys, get in the comments. I will, of course, be answering all your comments during half time. It's been a bit of a bleak first half. Spurs started so well, but the referee conspired to give Newcastle an equaliser, and then Newcastle, frankly, have been all over us since then. Bergvall does well there in midfield, but then tries to take on Guimaraes, but he's not fully stopped, but nearly. Porro gets outside him. Bergvall comes through central midfield, finds Sarr, finds Spence out to Werner. Of course, has to go back to Sarr, to Bergvall. He goes for the long ball out wide to Porro. Porro tries with the cross. It comes deep to the far post, and that's cleared by Livramento. Does well, and that's a corner to Spurs. Can we get a goal from a set piece? Probably not, with Timo Werner taking it. Past the first one of these, straight to Newcastle. Here he goes. Hits the first man. Of course it fucking does. Archie Gray is in trouble here. And Isak's in the middle. Gordon's won it off him. And he finds Isak. But Porro helps him out. Gray gets it back. Don't give it away again, Gray. Austin gives it back to Archie Gray, who's now in a lot of trouble down in his corner. Oh, and he tries a back heel, and he gets away with a throw-in. 2,000 of you watching this, guys. Thanks so much for the support. Please do give this video a like, this live watch-along a like, if you haven't already on YouTube, and subscribe to Chris's channel, and also my own YouTube channel, at Barnaby Slater _ for daily transfer news during this January window. Daily transfer videos. At Barnaby Slater _ Thanks for your support, guys. This should be half-time now, and Spurs, to be honest, have done well to stay in it. That is half-time. Apathetic smattering of boos from the crowd. I'd be interested to see what the pundits say at half-time there, because I just think it's an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace, that first goal. But since that equaliser for Newcastle, they have been all over us. Before I get into the comments, guys, I'll take you quickly through what happened in that first half. It is half-time, Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2, as you can see in the graphics. There was an early foul in the first minute from Lucas Bergvall, who I think kind of showed that he wanted to physically impose himself on the game, which is good. He's not the biggest guy, but I do like how he gets involved. An early Timo Werner corner in the second minute where he passed it, trying to do a short corner, passed it straight to Newcastle and allowed them to get on the transition. Just the worst, I have to say, the worst player I've seen. Technically the worst player, confidence-wise, the worst player I've seen at Spurs for a long, long time. And I probably include Emerson Royal in that, who was the least technical Brazilian I've ever seen in the history of professional football. And Timo Werner, I think it's just a confidence thing. And I cannot see how he stays on this pitch much longer. 3rd minute, Tottenham scored. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal. And you got to give credit to Brandon Austin. He started the ball, the move with a good ball to Pedro Porro, who then laid it to Lucas Bergwall, who drove through central midfield, gives the ball to Brennan Johnson, who laid it back to Pedro Porro. And his first time cross was beautiful. And Dominic Solanke out-muscled Botman, I think it was, and a great Harry Kane-esque header into the far corner. And that was brilliant start for Spurs. Got the fans going. It was brilliant. Straight after, 4th minute, great defending from Archie Gray to head out across the head of Brandon Austin, who was diving to claim a cross. That was a corner, and then Austin claimed from that corner. And actually, in that first half, Brandon Austin did really well from corners, coming out for them, trying to claim them when Newcastle put big players like Dan Burn, and they're trying to push the Tottenham defenders onto Austin. And then the equaliser in the 5th minute. And I have to say, just one of the most disgraceful decisions I've seen in the Premier League. Pape Matar gave a hospital ball to Lucas Bergwall, who has to stretch to get his toe on it to try and get it out wide. And it hits Joe Linton's arm. Now, his hand. And his hand is down by his side. But the result of it hitting his hand is that it goes straight into the path, I think, of Isak, who then Newcastle have a 2-on-1 out wide on the left, and they score a goal from it. Now, how can the rule now still be... apparently they've changed the rules, have they? That it's no longer any handball in the build-up to a goal means it's not a goal. Okay, if they changed that, I didn't know about it. But if the ball bounces off the hand straight into the path of the opposition forward, and the Spurs players are ahead of the ball because they're trying to get on a transition themselves, that has to be a handball. It went straight to Isak, who I think laid it into Gordon, and Gordon finishes it into the far corner. It's a good finish, but it should be disallowed. I cannot believe it. And I'm actually going to, when it comes back to the pundits, I'm going to turn the volume up to hear what they say about it. Anyway, in the 10th minute, Spurs won the ball high, and a chance for Solanke was blocked by Byrne. It was a good shot from Solanke. Follow-up shot from Pape Matar was blocked. But at this point, I've written how the fans were in it. Tottenham fans were really up for it because they felt like they'd been done dirty by the referee. And the fans in the 15th minute were chanting that the ref didn't know what he was doing. Dragoshin gave away a dangerous free kick, but Austin claimed it well. That was the second time. He threw it out too quickly, though, because he thought Kulusevski might have the pace on the break, but he didn't. Yellow card for Dan Burn for a foul on Solanke in the 16th minute, which stopped a break, and that will become relevant soon. Bergvall, I've made a note in the 19th minute, started really well. Another good interception led to a break and a corner. Then a good save from Austin at the near post in the 20th minute, kind of a carbon copy of the goal. Gordon was in on the left, but went for the near post, and Austin got it round the post, and then he punched out the corner, doing well. Then in the 24th minute, a handball from Dan Burn, stopping a break from Spurs. Should have been a yellow card, but the thing that makes it even worse, he gives the handball as a free kick because it's stopping the break. It hits his arm, right? So how's he given that, but not the handball against Joe Linton for Spurs' goal, right? But then, because it's a handball that's stopping a break for Spurs and we're in, he should book him, and then Dan Burn would be sent off, and he's not. The referee just having an absolute shocker. 27th minute, long shot from about 35 yards from Pedro Porro over the bar. 31st minute, we should have been 2-1 down. Isak missed a sitter at the near post. Ball came in from the right far too easily across along the floor of the box. Isak doesn't get enough on it. And actually, if Isak had just left it completely, Gordon would have had a free goal at the back post. So Spurs got lucky there. Austin did well again from a corner in the 33rd minute, punched away and fouled. And then I've written in the 34th minute, endless control and corners for Newcastle now. Spurs can't keep the ball. And not surprisingly, 37th minute goal, cross from Murphy, and Isak scored at the back post. Solanke, we'd had the throw-in on our right-hand side. Porro with the throw. Solanke tries to do something cute to hold the ball up, gives the ball away. And it's just kind of one or two passes from there. And that's why it's so easy to score against Spurs. There's just no kind of defensive solidity when we lose the ball in midfield. 42nd minute, Dragoshin played the ball straight off the pitch. Gordon had a shot deflected wide. It was a good block from Pedro Porro. 43rd minute, shot from Joe Linton wide. Newcastle all over us. 4 added minutes at the end of the half. Spurs did get a corner and a secondary potential chance, a good cross from Porro that was cleared at the back post. Let's go into the comments. Triple J says, if we lose this game, we'll be very disappointed if Ange doesn't start his after-game interview with hard to win against 12 on the field today. Ryan McF says, this is by far the worst Spurs team I've seen since Ardiles. The tactics are shocking. The squad assembled is awful as well. Fans saying, look at the 90s. We are back there. Alan Marshall says, normal refereeing in the Premiership. Sean says, can we save the Ange in, Ange out talk for after the game and all week? Yeah, I mean, listen, as ever, it's as simple as this. When Spurs are losing, the people who want Ange out will be louder. That's the way it is. But look, his tactics, we are too easy to score goals against. It is as simple as that. But he basically has no options in terms of the team at the moment. Tarzan says in the comments, idiotic to even mention Ange's sacking with the team he has out there. Kenneth Roof says, how was Forster ever ahead of Austin? Forster should not play again for Spurs. Listen, Austin's had a good half. He's been brave and he's done well, but remains to be seen. We don't watch them in training every game, so let's see what happens. Maestro says, Newcastle haven't even spent much money. Jack Ligros says, remember, we had a lot of bad results when we had a fit squad. Joe Linton should have been, TSOM says, Joe Linton should have been off in the first 15 minutes for at least 4 yellow cards. Just going through the replays of the first goal now. So Bergvall, he really drove at the Newcastle defence, ran kind of 45 yards, 50 yards with it, laid it back to Johnson, who just plays it easy back. Good weight for Porro's first time ball. And Solanke does beautifully. It's a really great goal for Spurs. Such a shame that the referee absolutely ruined it just a couple of minutes later with his embarrassing decision. Phil C says, Ange won't be sacked until new investors sign on the dotted line and have their say. I don't think new investors are coming anytime soon, to be honest. Tom, right, and here we go. So with the equaliser, Austin has the ball at his feet. And he has it in his hands, sorry. He throws it to Archie Gray, he should be a bit deeper, Archie Gray. He should be a bit deeper. So he receives it a little too far at the pitch, which kind of interests Newcastle's press. Isak's quite close to him. So he starts on with Gray and he gives it into Sarr, Gray. And then Sarr tries the ball around the corner, and it's a hostile one to Bergvall. I want to hear what the pundits say about that handball then. Joe Hart saying letter of the law means it's not a handball. He's not made himself any bigger. But for me, it's an absolute piss take. What about the Dan Burn one then? The ball's by his side, the hand's by his side, and he's given a handball, and he doesn't book him for it. Absolute joke. Phil C says, new investment coming sooner than you think. Well, what do you expect is going to happen with this new investment? Even if we get some investment, like an Ineos-esque investment for, I don't know, 25% of the club, Daniel Levy will still be chairman. And I don't think the wage structure is going to change anytime soon, but I hope you're right. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. Balu the Bear says, if we sack Ange, who's there to replace him? Look at the backing of the Arsenal board. It takes time for a system like this to work, and we should trust Ange and give him at least till the window. Maestro says, yeah, that's harsh, that handball. I mean, for me, it's got to be about game state. It has to be about game state. I'm sorry, but those handballs get given in central midfield all the time. And the Dan Burn one, for me, shows it. It's given in central midfield. So why is it not given there? That's the thing. It's about game state. If the ball hits the player's hand and it goes directly to a Newcastle player and they score with one pass, complete joke. Complete joke for me. John Doe says we were never going to win today. Well, that's probably true, but when you go 1-0 up early, it gives you more of a chance. Merriman says, bruv, who's better? We backed ourselves in a corner by sacking 3 really talented managers back to back. Are you talking about Nuno? Are you talking about Nuno, Merriman? Please come back to me and tell me. You think Nuno Espirito Santo was the right manager for Spurs? We didn't have a shot on target for 5 games. Jose and Conte are talented managers, but only if they've got the most money to spend in the world. Tottenham are not that club. They're not that club. Maybe we can be in the future, but I'll say it again. I've said it so many times. Arsenal moved into their new stadium in 2006. The last big club to move into a new stadium in the Premier League, a big new stadium before Spurs. They didn't spend big until 2013. That's 7 years. And then they didn't properly spend big until 2019 with Nicola Pepe. So what was that? It was 13 years after their new stadium. So it's not going to happen quickly that we're going to be able to spend £100 million. It's just not. And we've got higher revenue. Yes, the revenue's good, but it's just not as quick as that. It's not simple. It's really not simple. Silencer, see where Nuno is here right now. Yeah, he's second in the league with a club like Forest where there's no pressure on him to play any kind of possession-based football. There really isn't. And he did well at Wolves. The first season he had Wolves in the first couple of seasons he had Wolves in the Premier League, right? He was doing well there as well, but then he lost his job. Merriman says, Nuno's living his best life in Forest right now. He wasn't Spurs' best man, but God knows what he could have done if he was given a little more than 3 months. He couldn't get us to have a shot on target, mate. Nobody in the world thinks Nuno Espirito Santo should have remained as Spurs' manager. They didn't even want him as manager in the first place. Listen, my mate, sold Nuno a kettle, right? This is a genuinely true story. He sold Nuno a kettle, and Nuno got a lift back with him to take his kettle. It might have been a microwave back to his house. And Nuno apparently was just like so miserable. Like my mate was a Spurs fan. He's a Spurs fan. Was saying to him, "Are you excited to be?" He's like, "Oh, not really. Like the pressure. There'll be a lot of pressure, etc." He knew he wasn't the choice. He wasn't the Spurs man. It wasn't right. Trust me. Just trust me. Anyway, guys, I'm frustrated, not just because we're losing, but also because I just think, let's get our players fully back. We did start the season well. We should have beaten Leicester away. We should have beaten Newcastle away. We started really well, but we lost. We drew the first one. We lost that game, but we were playing well when we had our players. We can't sack Ange now. There's nobody better than him. We've got to give him the time. We've got to see if we can find a way back into this game. Get the fans back on board in this game for a start, because for that first 10, 15 minutes, the fans were doing a great job. And the ref was winding them up, and we had to... we had to use those fans, but then unfortunately we let Newcastle get on top of us. Well, now we've got to try and find another way into this game. Jack Legros says the only thing guaranteed with the Tottenham manager is the sack. Life on Levy. Well, he's not sacking Ange, is he? He's not. He would have sacked every other manager right now, and he hasn't sacked Ange. So he's clearly sticking with Ange, at least until the end of the Carabao Cup semi-finals, I would say. So he's not sacking him. He is changing, and he's listening to what the fans want. It was. EPEC20 says, might have been a microwave. It was a microwave. It was a microwave. Chris Braun says, are there enough fans who want Livy out? Does for fan power to get the message? No, he's not going anywhere. He owns the club. He owns the club, guys. Deary me. So frustrating. Hopefully we can do something in the second half, but I fear that we can't, to be honest. Guys, as ever, we are live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch, on Chris Cowlin's channel. Thank you so much for your support. Over 2,300 of you watching at the moment. Please do give this video a like on YouTube. Press subscribe on Chris's channel if you're not already a subscriber. Chris is the Don of Tottenham Hotspur content. He will be back after this game with the Spurs Chat podcast. What's going to happen after this game is I will do an instant match reaction after the game. Then I will be talking to Spurs fans from around the world about their thoughts on this game. And after that, at about 3:30, I think it is, Chris will be back with the Spurs Chat podcast, which is up for an award. So please do give it a vote. The Spurs Chat podcast is up for Best Team Podcast in the Sports Podcast Awards 2025. And if you want to give it a vote, you can go to the description box below and find the link there. And yes, 3:30 p.m, Chris will be back with the Spurs Chat podcast, where he'll be joined by Ricky Norwood, Craig Dearman, and Johnny Bow. At the moment, I do not have good feelings for how that will go. This is a good point by Jonag2K. Spurs are a great team to watch if you don't support them. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And Gary Jarvis says we lost with our best 11 players. We started the season well, mate. We started the season well. The Spurs players are now coming back out onto the pitch. Darrell says Werner as manager would be better than Nuno was. I don't think that's true. Sergio Reguilon is coming on. My word. Is that going to be for Porro? Yeah, Spencer's on the pitch, so that must be for Porro. Is that to rest him for the weekend? The Liverpool game. So, on the left, for this half, we have Sergio Reguilon and Timo Werner. Oh, no, wait. Who is it? Number 6. Dragushin off. Oh, my God. Can you fucking believe this? So who's playing centre half now? It's just such a joke. All 4 of the centre backs now out. So is Spence going to play centre back? Spence playing centre back. What is Ange supposed to do, guys? Like, what is he honestly supposed to do? It's an absolute joke, this injury. I'll tell you what, Spurs have won it high here. Johnson needs to be strong and is, but Newcastle getting bodies around him. Plays a good ball into Solanke. Newcastle have so many bodies back, though. Oh, and on the transition, Spence loses out to Gordon. Oh dear. Archie Gray gets in ahead of Isak, does well. I've never seen an injury crisis like this. Is it injury or is it illness? Like, we might get absolutely dicked here. Oh, well done. Spurs have won it high with Kulusevski. And now Werner driving. He slips it in front of Kulusevski. We've got 4 forward here, Spurs. It's a dodgy cross from Decky, and Botman's able to clear it. Lots of Spurs fans still in the bars, and so would I be, to be honest. As Jed Spence, a good ball out wide to Brennan Johnson, but has Jed Spence ever played centre-back in his life before? We've got 2 players who've never played centre-back in their life. Oh, good cross from Porro. Chance! Chance on the follow, and it's over the bar from Sarr, and the ref gives a free kick anyway. There's a penalty check for a handball, but they won't give it. You know they won't. Here comes the... No, can't give that example. Great cross from Porro, though. All the trouble so far this game has been caused by Porro crosses, as Dubravka is down injured. What? He's booked Solanke, has he? He can't have booked Solanke for trying to go for the ball there. This referee is an absolute joke. Gardu says positively Spencer's speed to handle Isak in straight line race, heading and being turned and twisted in those positions. Jury may still be out. Hopefully he reads Isak movement well and survives. Joe Nag 2K says Ange must have done something terrible in his former life. Simon Hay says, I feel so sorry for Ange. What the hell is he meant to do? I'm fearful for the second half, unfortunately. Yeah, I am as well, to be honest. Junior Rodigan, unpopular opinion, we're going to win this match. No, mate, we're not. Do you feel for Alfie Dorrington? I have to say I don't. There's no experience there if he plays Spence and Dorrington, 2 18-year-olds. And that's why he's... sorry, if he plays Gray and Dorrington. That's why he plays Sarr, I think. That's why he's playing Spence with Archie Gray. Anyway, finally the game gets back underway. You can guarantee the second half as well. If it remains just 1 goal in it, Newcastle will start the old time slowing everything down. As Bergvall wins a couple of balls in midfield well. Lays it out wide to Reguilon. He plays it down the line to Werner. He goes back to Bergvall. Can you believe it's a Werner and Reguilon left-hand side? Beautiful ball from Bergvall into Porro. I've been impressed with Bergvall this game. Comes out to Johnson. Cuts inside. He's got 3 men against him, though. And that's where you see the Newcastle players work much harder back, especially in wide areas, than the Spurs players do. Brennan Johnson could learn a little bit from these Newcastle players who work so hard to get behind the ball when they haven't got it. Tottenham just popping it about, and Newcastle happily in their shape, knowing that they can spring on the break as soon as Spurs give the ball away. To the 49th minute, Spence back to Gray. This extremely makeshift centre-half partnership. And Spence loses the ball and wins a foul. He's quite lucky there from Gordon. Reguilon gives a horrible ball to Gray. It's going to go back to Austin. What an absolute... Oh, and Austin gives a horrible ball to Spence. What an absolute joke this team that Spurs have got out in a Premier League game is. Spence passes the ball out straight to Hall. Great tackle from Pape Matar there. And well done from Brennan Johnson, who limps away. And then Spurs try a ball over the top. And actually, Solanke does really well here. Oh, gets a bit unlucky, but Werner wins the second ball and gives it in. An early cross from Reguilon. It's good into Solanke's feet. But he tried to turn his man, and actually now Newcastle, who had bodies behind it with Tonali, are now on the break. And they have they're four, in fact. Isak out wide right. Werner's got in a good position here. And Porro does okay with the clearance, but goes straight to Isak. What's going on here? And Reguilon does well. Gets it to Sarr, who was not trying to get back. And as a result, he's lost the ball. Tonali outside the box. Tried to slip them in. Has a shot. Blocked by Bergvall. And comes to Werner, who tries to turn down the line. And it goes off for a throw-in. To say it's a bit of a training game for Newcastle at the moment. Sonny warming up down the left-hand side. Spurs have lost the ball already, of course. Pitch just looks so big. Newcastle just able to pop it about easily. They play into Isak very simply. Back to Livramento, who's, again, shown to be a great signing for Newcastle, as is Anthony Gordon. They sweep it out to Gordon, it's 2-on-1 down the left here for Newcastle, and a great block from Spence. I'm afraid at the moment this could easily end up being 4 or 5-1. And Liverpool to come in the week. Here comes the outswinger this time from Hall. Oh, it's a free header for Newcastle, but Bergvall blocks. Newcastle get it back. Now Newcastle bring it down the right with Guimaraes. Kulusevski tries to tackle him, but nothing happening. Murphy in down the right. Gets a cross in well. Austin does well to claim it. Fans trying to get behind Spurs here. Austin plays up to Solanke, but this is not a tactic that's working, although Solanke wins the second ball. And Porro did well there to get it out to Kulusevski, who's got Johnson outside him. But he doesn't try and get outside him as well. And Johnson's going to try the cross here. And that's going to be a corner, is it? Yeah, corner to Spurs. Maybe set pieces are our best option, our best opportunity in this game. Kulusevski is going to whip this one in. Spurs' longest sequence without a home win in the Premier League for 16 years. There was one game against Newcastle at White Hart Lane where we lost when we should have won by about 8. Could Spurs do the return? Who knows? Anyway, Porro tries the cross. Blocked. And Reguilon then finds Spence, who doesn't have many options. He finds Porro out wide, who goes down the line to Kulusevski. Tries to roll his man. Fouls his man in the end. Bergvall does well there. Can he keep it on? Yes, he can. Well done, Lucas Bergvall. Workhorse. Plays it down the line to Kulusevski. Tries to cross across the box. It's cleared easily by Byrne. But that was good stuff from Bergvall. Been impressed with Bergvall so far. Spurs, once again, though, back in their own centre. Spence fouled again whilst trying to take on players in his own centre midfield, in the centre circle, sorry. Gives it to Gray, gives it to Sarr, who does well around the corner to get away from Bruno. Finds Deki Kulusevski out wide right. He's driving at Newcastle, which is good. Finds Johnson, who's up against Hall. Tries to go down the line again. Hall does well. Oh, but Porro wins it. Gives it into Deki. Chance here for Sarr. Oh, and it's saved. But Johnson's on the rebound. Hits the post. So unlucky. Comes to Kulusevski. Goes outside. Good for Spurs for having a chance. Sarr didn't quite get hold of the first shot. It's saved, and then it's a tight angle for Johnson. Hits the post. Anyway, it's a corner for Spurs. They're going to whip it in again towards the keeper. Oh, it's Reguilon now with the corner. That's a better delivery, but it hits Dan Burn, clears it easily out to Porro, who finds Reguilon, who's all on his own, so has to try a long old cross. That's easily cleared, but Bergvall does well again, getting in front of Bruno Guimaraes. Good lad. Sarr finds it out wide to Werner now, taking on two players. Goes outside, and that's a goal kick. Of course it is. Oh, he gives a corner. Good lad. Well done, ref. Trying to level it up, maybe. The fans getting behind them. And if Spurs don't score during this period, I fear for us. But if we can get a goal here, who knows? There's a kind of, it's almost gallows humor in the fans here, knowing that we're just not good enough with this team on the pitch. But can we do something? Here comes the in-swinger. Flicked on at the near post by Kulusevski, but Murphy gets a head on it. It's out for another corner. And they take this one quickly. Here comes a left-footed cross. Oh, and it's cleared again by Newcastle. And good strength here. And Kulusevski's in the box on his left foot here. Got men around him, though. Needs to try and win a corner somehow. And he doesn't. And Newcastle play it out. Oh, and Bergvall dived in, and he's well out of the game now. Newcastle are 4-on-4 here. And nobody's really... Johnson does seem to be trying to get back. Tonali to the left now. Oh, and he's in the box. And Gray blocks it. And then Gordon over the bar. Spurs play it long into central midfield. Flick on from Solanke, but Johnson beaten to the next ball. Gray gets in ahead of Isak. Newcastle finding ways to get the ball back. Good press from Sarr. Oh, Reguilon nearly nicked in there. "57 minutes gone. Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2. Do have a few options for substitutions, of course. Spurs' second half possession has been all right, 64%. But I don't know how fit Maddison and Son are. And now Newcastle in again and left one-on-one for Gordon. Cutting inside, get up. Dives on the floor. Kulusevski runs away with the ball, but he's totally on his own here, Decky. Goes back to Porro. Oh my God, the referee has stopped it, pretending it's a head, because Gordon's pretending it's a head injury. Oh, they might give this as a pen. To be fair, Kulusevski's shoulder goes into Gordon's nose. I have to say, though, to try and be transparent, I think anywhere else on the pitch, that's given as a foul. For me, the rules that something is a foul not in the box and isn't a foul in the box is where, it's one of the most random things in football. The other thing that's most random is when defenders are facing their own goal line and they feel the lightest touch in their back from a striker, they go down and get a free kick. But if a striker is facing the goal line and feels a touch from the defender, it's not a free kick. How is that the same? How is that different? It's completely ridiculous. Okay, here come the subs. Bissouma, Maddison and Son are taking off their tops. Shows that Ange is thinking about that Liverpool game. That's for sure. But let me know in the comments. Do you think Liverpool are going to rest players for that game? Or do you think they're going to try and be so out of sight after the first leg that they can rest players for the second leg? "60 minutes gone. So Madders and Son, who are they going to come on for? So Sarr is coming off. Yeah. I think Bergvall's played really well, and I would have liked him to stay on the pitch, to be honest. I really would. Werner. I would have kept Bergvall on somehow. Yeah, the crowd are not happy that Bergvall's going off. And that's really good for the future of Lucas Bergvall because he will get such confidence from that. I think he had a great game. I think he brings more energy than Bissouma. G-Moore says Newcastle gutted Werner's going off. Yeah, Bergvall looks unhappy to be going off. Good lad. Anyway, Bissouma on the ball now. Out wide to Sonny. He's got Reguilon with him. Reguilon tries to turn away twice and then kicks the ball off the pitch. Yeah, silence says maybe you want to start Bergvall ahead of Bissouma against Liverpool. Yeah. Well, Sarr is injured, isn't he? Suspended, sorry, isn't he, for the Liverpool game? So, yeah, Merriman says Bergvall was arguably our best player. Completely agree. Anyway, the game has started again. I guess Gordon's still on the pitch, is he? Madders opens the ball out to Pedro Porro. It would be hilarious if Spurs could find a way to get a result here. Back to Bissouma, who gets it back to Porro. Might as well get a cross in here, Pedro. Tries one. It's on the floor, or nearly comes to Decky. Comes to outside the box to Reguilon, who tries to flick it towards Sonny, but didn't get enough on it. 63 minutes gone. Gardu says Newcastle have settled into countering for now, sitting back. Spurs now need efficient ball control. Yeah, hopefully Bissouma can bring that. Jordan Hussein says, think Andrews made a shocker there, taking Bergvall off. Why Werner was even allowed to come out second half and Johnson should be off too. Yeah. I wouldn't have taken Bergvall off, but yeah, like we discussed, maybe he'll stay on. Listen, just so many injuries, and Newcastle play a ball over the top, and Porro really helped out Jed Spence there. And Spurs get the ball back and into Bissouma. He plays a good ball into Madders. A little bit more space in midfield for Spurs now. He's got Reguilon outside in Madders. Tries to find Son in the half space. Does well. Sonny tries to cut inside into Dom Solanke. Sonny in the box now. Oh, nearly. Botman did well. Sonny plays it back to Solanke and Newcastle have bodies back. But that was good football from Spurs. Now Madders wanted to try a cross but turns away instead because Solanke wasn't in there. Finds his way back to Reguilon. Inside to Son. Goes back to Reguilon. Who goes back to Son and Spurs keep the ball with Bissouma now. Bissouma turns away. Does well. Into Madders. Just getting a bit more control on the ball last minute, Spurs. Who finds Spence, our new centre-half. Who goes across to Gray and brings it across to Bissouma. Bissouma to Madders. Back to Bissouma. Madders on the half-turn gets away from Tonali nicely. But then Tonali gets back, as does Joe Linton. And so we have to bring it wide to Porro. Who plays a ball, towards Kulusevski. It was just ahead of him. And this breaks for Anthony Gordon now. Oh, and Madders just slips the wrong time. And as a result, Newcastle are in down the right-hand side now. But Reguilon is in a good position, but he's got Livramento outside him now, Murphy. And Reguilon dives in there a bit too easily, but Bissouma's there to help him and does well. Reguilon finds Son, who finds Gray. Spurs put their foot on it for a second. Bissouma to Reguilon on the left. He needs options here, Reggie. The fans calling on him to go forward, but there was no option for him. But he does well to find Solanke there, but it doesn't reach Solanke, and he fouls Guimarães. Maddison asking someone else on the pitch to just calm down a little bit there. Jordan Hussein said, I don't rate Basuma anymore, and I actually think he exposed our defence more than protecting it. He's getting on the ball quite well, though, in his first few minutes on the pitch. Newcastle have a free kick kind of 10 yards inside our half, and as a result, they're going for the long one, knowing that Spurs are a little susceptible to set pieces. 65 minutes gone. Here comes the long one. Keeper comes, and Austin did really well, and he's on the ground injured. And he's winded. Of course, the ref didn't give a foul for that, even though he literally got armed in the stomach. Gardu says some really bad faith arguments against Basuma here. Strange. The game's literally in front of our eyes and he's handling the ball and orchestrating effectively so far, but rhetoric against him persists. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think he started this game quite well. I'll say what I always say about Basuma. He's such a beautiful technical footballer and does the hard things so well, but then sometimes he just loses concentration, gives the ball away too easily. But who doesn't, I guess? Yeah, Phil C says, good idea to go down, Austin. It gives the players time to take a breather. We could do with a breather. 68 minutes gone. The game's getting a little bit bitty at this point, which will suit Newcastle. They'll just be happy to try and play this out. Hits on the break, go down a lot, waste time, and Spurs will lose another game, as has been our Christmas period and basically last 3 months. Anyway, Austin is back up now. Spurs lost the ball already in midfield. Burn flicks it on. It goes straight to Isak, who was offside. Broncos says, do you think Ange is the right fit? I just don't think there's any other option at the moment. We've got to stick with it. Got to stick with it. There's no one else to come in. Epic 20 he's kind of taking the piss out of Ange, and what he says. But who do you genuinely think we'd benefit from having Ryan Mason in charge at this point? Because there's nobody else. Anyway, Spurs down the right with Pedro Porro running at Newcastle. Plays a beautiful ball to Kulusevski, who can't take the ball with him, unfortunately. And now, of course, with everyone forward, Newcastle through, and Basuma makes an important foul. This was a good chance for Kulusevski to take it on into the box, but he just couldn't get his touch right, unfortunately. Newcastle wasting time with this free kick, and I'm going to go along with it, of course. 78% possession for Spurs at the moment. Last 5 minutes. Not really making any chances. Jordan says, I just don't see where the goals come from. I feel sorry for French, but I don't see where our next win comes from other than Tamworth. Well, I'm pretty scared about that Tamworth game, to be honest. Anyway, the free kick comes up. Burn flicks it on. Spence does well with the second ball. Reguilon clears the third ball. And wins a foul well there, Sergio Reguilon. Looks like he's got energy, Reguilon. Junior, yeah, says they're not putting the game away. We need to nick a draw like Wolves did against us. Yeah, that would be great. Gray gives it to Austin, who goes across to Spence, who gives it to Decky. First time into Porro, back to Spence. Oof, and Gordon nearly nicked it ahead of him. Gives it back to Austin, who just whacks it in the air. Solanke goes to challenge for it, does well. And Johnson does well and gets it down to Basuma. And Burn is out of play here for Newcastle. So Spurs, there's a bit of a gap. Oh, Basuma went the wrong way. Dear me, it comes to Kulusevski. That was a mistake, but Kulusevski does well. Can he get a good cross in here? Straight into the keeper's arms, unfortunately. Newcastle chip it into midfield. Spence wins the first ball, but it drops down to Joe Linton. Oh, and they play a beautiful ball over the top through Guimaraes to Gordon, but actually Porro did beautifully and comes back and gets the ball to Austin, who plays it to Spence, who's under pressure. His first ball goes to Kulusevski. His first touch is decent. Good stuff between Kulusevski and Johnson. Lovely play from Spurs. And then he's tackled, unfortunately, from Joe Linton, but it breaks to Bissouma, who's running across the pitch. You can go forward here if you want, Bis. He doesn't. He goes to Reguilon, who finds Son. His first touch is all right, but it has to come backwards to Bissouma. Maddison is on the left-hand side if he can find him. Reguilon does find him now. And Son's down the line. And Son's in a good position here. Can he get a good early cross in? It is a great cross. Solanke couldn't get across the front stick. Better from Spurs. Dubravka kicks the ball long. Oh, it's a great ball. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, and that's a foul in centre circle on Isak from Spence. He was just a bit late there, Jed Spence, as you'd expect with him playing out of position. Phil Cease's far better performance from Spurs this half, yeah. But Newcastle kind of keeping us at arm's length, don't you feel? Just kind of popping it about whenever they need, really. Guimaraes is a good player. So is Joe Linton. Lovely play from Isak. Oh, but then bad stuff in midfield from Guimaraes. And it's Sonny bringing the ball out. But he has to turn away because Newcastle works so hard. And then Son is kicked off the ball there. And it's a booking. Joe Linton booked and he's complaining, so send him off, ref. That was a booking for totting up amount of fouls. 72nd minute. Maddison on the left. Into Bissouma. Tonali presses him. Madders into Sonny. Back to Bissouma. Moving Newcastle around, but they seem pretty comfortable. It's a bad first touch from Reguilon, but he gets the second one into Maddison. Madders tries to find Solanke, but can't. And Newcastle try and get away. And he handballs it, but Kulusevski wins it off Livramento. And he's got Porro outside him. Gives it to Porro. Tries to get the cross in here, Pedro Porro. And it breaks to Johnson. And that he's fouled him there, Porro. Probably should be a booking, but isn't. You know that Andy's going to come out after this game and say, my boys couldn't have given any more. That's all I can ask for. Long ball. Porro wins it. Up to Kulusevski. He's pushed in the back by Tonali, and it goes back to the keeper. Newcastle just going long. Oh, it's a good ball from Dubravka. Brilliant turn from Joe Linton from Bissouma, who dives in and gets a great tackle on the ball and then gets up, wins the ball, gives it to Kulusevski. Great stuff from Bis. And now Kulusevski gives it to Johnson and goes on a return run. But what is Johnson doing there? Johnson tried to give it back to Kulusevski, but it just wasn't on. And as a result, Newcastle now in on the break. Porro does well to win it back. And Bissouma straight into Johnson. Turns away this time. Gives it to Porro, which is better. And Spurs come across. Madders. Fronted up by two central midfield players of Newcastle, though, as we have been the whole game. Bissouma back to Madders. Son is free on the left, but now finally Madders finds Sonny on the left in the left half space. He's got Reguilon outside him. Reguilon's going to try the cross, is he? No, he comes away from it, gives it back to Maddison. Newcastle just able to stand in front of us here. Very hard to break down. Son into Solanke, who does well there. And Sonny's in down the left here. Can he get a foot on it? He keeps it on, just about. Does well, Sonny there. Lays it back to Madders. Chance for a cross from Madders. Oh, and Johnson was nearly there at the back post. Porro's first touch gets it to Kulusevski. He's in the box here, Decky. Lays it back to Porro. Can he have a dig with his left foot, Porro? It's blocked. Bissouma gets the clearance back to Archie Gray, who finds Jed Spence. who finds Archie Gray again. Spurs are trying here, which is good to see. Madders into Reguilon. Does well. Gives it back to Sonny. To Madders. Can he get another cross in here? No, he goes to Bissouma. Harvey Barnes about to come on for Newcastle. Sonny out wide left now. Reguilon made a run, but instead Decky takes it first time. And it's good defending. Comes through to the keeper. "76 minutes gone." Junior Rodigan says, "Finisher, we need a final ball." Guys, do stick around for my post-match reaction after this game, and then I'll be talking to Spurs fans from around the world about their feelings about what looks like it's going to be another defeat. And then the Spurs Chat podcast will be on this channel at 6:30 p.m. Chris will be there for that one. And also Chris will bring you the post-match press conferences and more videos from the game on his channel. So do keep an eye on his channel. Make sure you subscribe to it if you haven't already. And I am getting closer to 15,000 subscribers on my channel at Barnaby Slater _. Go and give me a subscribe if you haven't already. Chasing that 15,000. Anthony Gordon is coming off. So Barnes on, Gordon off. It looked like Joe Linton might have an injury, so let's see what happens. Newcastle fans in the corner looking a little worried. Tottenham doing better since the subs have come on, but not really making chances. And Newcastle have wasted about 4 minutes with that injury. So hopefully that's added on at the end. Good stuff between Gray, Bissouma and Spence to break Isak's press there. And now Madders takes it off Bissouma. Finds it into Kulusevski, but Kulusevski tries to take it on the half turn and is easily beaten by Tonali. He tries the chip over the top, but Gray is in good position. Does well. Breaks forward with it, gives it to Reguilon. Should give it back to him there, but Reguilon breaks forward and gives it to Bissouma. Bissouma has Son outside. And a bit of space for Bissouma to run into there. Son has Madders in the half space, who he finds. Madders into Solanke's feet, and Solanke's first touch is bad, but Maddison was taken out off the ball. And this is a good opportunity for Spurs, just outside the box on the left-hand edge. So Madders gave his ball, and then, he's kind of elbowed in the head by Botman. And we've got to try and make the keeper make a save. So we've got to try and... Tell you what, it was closer to the box than that, Madders. Really thought it was. Anyway, good opportunity for Spurs to get a good delivery into the box here. 11 minutes of normal time to go. Madders standing over this one. Porro there as well. They're setting up a wall for the near post, a 4-man wall. But I don't think this is where Madders is not going to shoot from here, I don't think. It's a bit far out for that. Because it's right on the corner, the left-hand corner of the box, and also maybe 5 yards outside it. And yeah, Madders has pushed Porro away, and he's saying he's going to whip one towards that far post and try and get bodies running across it. Come on, Spurs, get a bit of set-piece luck here. Like we talked about how Wolves nicked a result against us last week. Let's try and nick a result here. Good delivery, Madders. Come on, and stay on side in the middle. He's put pace on it. And Livramento does well at the near post. It's a corner. Porro is on the corner, and this time he pushes Maddison away. Oh no, it's Son, sorry, on the corner. 8 corners each now. Hardly anybody's in the box of Spurs, and he goes short. And actually, Maddison's in good space here. Whips it towards the far post. Oh. 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 That was Kane-esque against Arsenal. Remember that one at the Lane? So close. Spurs putting some pressure on Newcastle. Really good to see. Spence wins the header from the long ball. Well done. And then Maddison beats Tonali, or gets involved anyway. Kulusevski outmuscled by Joe Linton, though. Plays it to Barnes. And Barnes down the line. And Isak turns Spence. But Spence gets back in. Well done, kid. And Porro gets it back to Austin on his own goal line. And Austin dinks it into midfield. Solanke. Oh, well done in there from Bissouma. And Spurs have the ball again with Reguilon, who finds Maddison. Come on. Maddison tries something different over the top towards Son, who's in behind here, but he's not going to have the pace to get away from Newcastle. But we've still got the ball. Put him in now on the left-hand side. Oh, it comes just behind Maddison. Chance. Lay it off. Chance. Johnson. Don't know what happened there, but it's come to Son. Oh, God. Reguilon ended up having the last shot. Goes off for throwing, I think. It didn't sit perfectly for any Spurs players. Oh. Spurs on their own halfway line. Spence with the throw-in, and Archie Gray gets it to Austin, who finds Reguilon. That was a really good chance for Spurs there. Reguilon puts his foot on it and goes out wide to Son, who finds Bissouma. Yeah, the best chance there really fell to Johnson at the far post. It was good play, actually, from Reguilon and Son on the left. And in the end, Reguilon, I think it was, got a good cross into Solanke, held it up, tried to lay it back to Kulusevski, but it fell on his right foot. And as a result, he tried to lay it to Johnson, who's on the inside right, and that's a corner for Spurs here. Johnson's in the box on the right. And in the end, he kind of just... It's a cross-come shot that is too hard for Solanke to get anything on, and doesn't go towards the goal, which is a shame. Anyway, short corner. Son to Madders, to Son. He's got Reggie outside him, but it goes to his left foot. He tries to cross Reggie. There's a lot of air on it. The keeper comes out, gets enough on it. He takes out two of his own players there, the keeper. Oh, and as a result, Newcastle. It's a head injury. It's got to be a lot of added time at the end of this game. Dan Burn on the floor, just taking his time, stopping Spurs' momentum, of course. Well, it's a little elbow in the head, to be fair. Junior Rodigan says, reminder, we're losing because of a handball. I completely agree. Completely agree. But there you go. When it rains, it pours. Nearly 3,000 of you watching this live stream, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Do give this video a like. And make sure you subscribe to both Chris Cowlin's YouTube channel at Chris Cowlin and my own at Barnaby Slater _. Newcastle making a couple more subs here. Longstaff and Willock on for Isak's taking his time and gets booked. I really hope this kind of time wasting of Newcastle bites them. It won't. I'm sure it won't, because Tottenham have not managed to fight back against adversity all season when it comes to stuff like this. But I really hope it does, because they're fucking pricks. I didn't see who the second player came off was, but Isak is off now. Willock on, Longstaff on. Spurs putting the press on Newcastle. And they've tried to pass it to one of their players who's gone off the pitch, Dan Burn. So Spurs have the ball now with Jed Spence. And Madders coming really deep into that quarterback role to get the ball off his centre halves now. Gives it to Bissouma, who goes back to Maddison. Willock just pressing. Madders turns to the left and goes to Reguilon. Who goes to Sonny, who tries to play it to Madders, but can't. But Reguilon gets it back and tries to find... Sorry, it wasn't Reguilon, it was Son, but it's deflected off. That should have been a Spurs throw, according to Reguilon. He's livid. Ref who is, I think it's fair to say, an absolute stinker. I think it's like the 5th ref in a row that Spurs have had who's been absolutely laughable. And to the 88th minute, there should be at least kind of 7 or 8 added minutes, but I bet he'll find like 4. Newcastle just keeping the ball on the right-hand touchline with throw-in after throw-in at this point. And this is very familiar. We watched the games that Spurs have lost in the last few months. It's the team we play against, just keep hold of the ball, run the clock down. And Spurs can't do anything about it. Whereas when Spurs were leading against Wolves the other day, we, of course, conceded one. Solanke wins the header, does well. Johnson flicks it on to Porro. Porro goes for a big old long over the top one to Sonny, but Livramento does well. But Solanke gets the second ball. He's being pressed, he's got to hold it, does well. Turns away, gives it to Madders in the left-hand half space, who goes to Jed Spence, the centre half, who looks for Porro wide right. Has to go back to Spence, and obviously all Newcastle players are back now. Inside to Bissouma, who goes to Maddison, who's got Guimaraes up against him. Sonny goes back to Madders, to Reggie, to Son, and Son is fouled there. Tonali fouls Son, so a chance for Spurs to whip a ball into the box here, maybe get the centre-halves forward. Yeah, Spence, you should go forward, mate. No, he goes short with it. Why? Fucking... chance to get it in the box. Just fucking get some crosses in. Try something. Stupid. Now just playing it in between Spence and Kulusevski. It's going to go backwards. Spence does well. Beats a man. Goes to Johnson and he loses it. And now Spence is wildly out of position. Bissouma does well to cut it out ahead of Willock. Very frustrating, but yet another game that just feels completely inevitable. Certainly from the moment the referee didn't give that handball for the equaliser. Absolute joke. Newcastle have it with Livramento. Goes down the line to Joe Linton. He's a good player. And he plays a good ball into the space, but Spence does well, but it breaks again for Guimaraes. Chips it over the top to Harvey Barnes. He loves to score against us. It's on the left side of the box now, running at Porro. Cuts inside, plays it in to Longstaff. Gets it back to Hall. Good stuff from Newcastle here. But Porro does well, and Spurs just chip it away to halfway. Now we're going to see how many minutes we've got added. 10 added minutes. Well done, the ref. Spurs need to take advantage of this now. Oh, Madders just too easily muscled off the ball there. And Newcastle coming forward. And Spence does well to get ahead of Willock there and is fouled. He's done really well, Jed Spence, in the second half as a centre-half. Now, we've been given 10 added extra minutes here. Is there anything else Ange can do? Can he bring on Lancashire, get another striker up there, try something different? Oh, Newcastle player now going down with pretend cramp. Botman going off. He's got cramp. But Newcastle shouldn't be allowed to just take their time over this. Botman's gone down. Well, this should add on to the 10 minutes. There should be as much as 12 minutes then, really. Get in the comments. Junior says Porro, Spencer, Bassoon have done well. Botman taking his time walking off. This should be 2 minutes added to the extra 10. Spurs now get the ball down with Basuma. Plays it to Spence. He's looking to try and play a long ball, but I think it's a bit early for that. Spence now comes to the right. It's just so easy for Newcastle to get men in front of the ball the whole game. Anyway, Archie Gray on the left. We just need something to happen for Spurs, luckily, here. Reguilon to Son. Plays it back to Archie Gray. To Spence. Maddison has made a little run over the top. It's Lloyd Kelly who's come on. Newcastle get it out to Harvey Barnes. Plays it down the line well to Willock, who runs Basuma, who fouls him. But Willock carries on. He finds Longstaff. Well done, though, that Sergio Reguilon nips in ahead, but gives a dodgy ball to Sonny. Plays it back to Reguilon. He finds Kulusevski, who's got some space here. Drive narrow here, Decky. Drive narrow. Gives it to Brennan Johnson, who's one-on-one for the first time in a long time. Plays a good ball towards Solanke, but doesn't find it. Lovely touch from Kulusevski, though. Keeps the ball for Spurs. Back to Porro. Kulusevski on the right now. He's going to try and whip one in. Does, across the front to Solanke, and the keeper has to tip it over the bar. Oh, and they're saying it wasn't touched over the bar. He does. Keeper touches it over the bar. Not given by the ref. I mean, to say that today's game has gone Newcastle's way would be an understatement, wouldn't it? Tell you what, fair play to Ali McCoy. He's given Brandon Austin man of the match. Good for him. Oh, Spence lets one bounce where he probably shouldn't there. Oh, they're in now. Harvey Barnes in on the left. And Austin makes a save at the near post. First time Ali McCoy has ever given player of the match to a player on the losing team. 5 minutes added time still to play, although realistically there should be some more because Newcastle have been taking the piss. Here comes the corner. Headed at the front post. Basuma gets his body in the way. Oh, and then Sonny plays a very weird ball. That's going to be a corner to Newcastle. Just a reminder, guys, there will be a post-match reaction show straight after this game, and then I'll be talking to Spurs fans from around the world, and then at about 3:30, Chris Cowan will be back with the Spurs Chat podcast. So stick around on his channel for more Tottenham content to discuss yet another inevitable defeat from Spurs. As Newcastle take the corner. That's stayed on in the corner. They're just holding it in the corner here, Newcastle. And that's a goal kick for Spurs. Austin gives it to Spence. It goes left to Gray. Goes left to Sonny. Oh, it's Maddison, sorry. Maddison then finds Reguilon in the half space. He goes wide to Son, and Reguilon continues. Son comes narrow to Maddison. Newcastle keeping us at arm's length, really, though, as Maddison comes wide right to Kulusevski. Finally gets it under control. Drives a little bit. Tries the one touch into Porro. And Porro tries to find Kulusevski again, but gets the bounce back to him. Sonny now pulling himself out of position, which he tends to do when Spurs are losing. It never really works. Porro going down the line, tries to get a cross in. Chance! Oh! Solanke, chance, straight at the keeper. Oh, such a shame. Solanke made a good run towards the near post, gets enough on it. It goes straight at the fucking keeper. Bissouma wins the ball in central midfield. Finds Reguilon. Goes back to... Now it comes across to Porro, who tries the ball over the top towards Johnson. That's easily dealt with. Bissouma heads it down to Johnson now. Finds a lovely ball into Kulusevski, who plays it. Oh, God, Newcastle lucky there. Really lucky. Johnson working back. Does well, gets the ball. Oh, but it breaks to Tonali. Of course it does. Reguilon fouls Tonali. He's pretending he's been shot. Reguilon gets booked. Yeah. That was a booking. So just under 90 seconds left of the added time, although Newcastle have been wasting a lot of that. So I'd hope he finds another minute or two. Newcastle fans celebrating. They know that this victory will be a victory. Tottenham have done well second half. Haven't conceded, have we? But we lost because of the referee and the injuries and the illness and everything. But the referee, just an absolute joke. Newcastle fans cheering a throw-in like it's a Premier League title. Spurs win a free kick. Joe Linton on Reguilon. 30 seconds left of the added time. And Spence has the ball. He's driving. Goes to Porro, who finds the ball down the line into Johnson, who finds it outside to Kulusevski's left foot. Kulusevski has to try and get a cross in here. He tries the dink in towards Solanke, whose touch for once is poor. Goes straight through to the keeper. That's such a shame because he was in front of his man. He's usually brilliant at that, Dom. Howe looks stressed on the sidelines. Lots of Tottenham fans leaving. Big old kick from the keeper. We're now into added time. Dan Burn just whacks it into space. Austin comes out with a header. What's he doing there? Austin. Bissouma helps him out. That was bizarre. And Spurs win a free kick. Maddison tries a ball over the top towards Son. It's not a good one, but can Solanke win the second ball? No, Tonali does well. Newcastle get out of trouble well here. Newcastle wasting more time. Throwing down the line, wasting more time. Eventually throws it. They're in Spurs' corner now. Cray has to try and find Bissouma. He's being properly pressed. Ref letting it go on. Bissouma goes for a long one. We've got bodies here, but Livermenta's had a great game. Does really well. Tonali does beautifully. Oh, Maddison did well. That's a foul on Maddison. But Maddison was offside. There were 2 more minutes. Commentator complaining. That will be the end now. Because Newcastle have been time wasting for the entirety of the second half. That's how we found 12 minutes. Maddison limping. "103rd minute now. And that's the end." This is my post-match reaction video to the Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle 2 Premier League defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A result that felt inevitable, probably inevitable knowing Tottenham's injury list. Then extra inevitable when you knew that Tottenham Hotspur then had an an illness outbreak in the squad this week. Trebly inevitable when you saw that Brandon Austin had to make his debut in goal for Tottenham Hotspur. I'll talk more about his performance. He got man of the match from Ali McCoist on TNT Sports. Really good for him. But then, when Tottenham Hotspur get an early goal and they get the crowd behind them, all you expect is some competency from the officials. And I'm sorry, but the equaliser that was given in just the 5th minute for Newcastle was some of the most shocking refereeing I've seen. And considering Spurs only lost by 1 goal, you cannot help but say that that refereeing has cost Tottenham a result today. Absolutely disgraceful. Tottenham's player, Lucas Bergvall, got to the ball first. He's trying to play the ball to his right back so that we can get in on a transition. And the ball hits the Newcastle player's hand and goes directly to their striker, who just plays 1 pass. And then Anthony Gordon scores. And from Spurs being on a transition, being 1-0 up, suddenly it's equalised. And that's what VAR is for me. It's for the shockers. It's for the goals that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for foul play. And that is foul play. Because even though it wasn't a handball on purpose, and even though the hand is by his arms, right, that stops it. And you know that it's definitely a foul and it's definitely wrong, because later in the game, the exact same thing happened in the halfway line with Dan Burn. He handballs it. The ref gives a handball. And then he must have deemed that to be a purposeful handball. So he has to be booked. Dan Burn had already been booked and he doesn't book him. He bottles it instead. And for me, that is why Tottenham Hotspur have lost the game today. Tottenham today, as Newcastle, celebrate as if they've won the league, playing against a bunch of reserve teams, basically a team who are playing their 3rd choice goalkeeper who's never played a senior game in his life. In the end, Dragishin had to go off, so 0 fit centre-halves, having to play a right back and a central midfielder in centre-back, one of whom's 18 years old, the other who's like 23, never played centre-back in his life. Newcastle fans going at it like it's the biggest win of their lives. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. And lots of people in the comments on the watch-along I've been doing saying that Ange Postecoglou should leave. I'm sorry. Listen, I will say once again what I've said about Postecoglou is I feel a lot of the muscle injuries have to be down to the way that they train and the relentless nature of not taking any breathers on the pitch. But when he's faced up with a squad like today, when there's been an illness outbreak throughout the squad, and he's having to play players like Austin and having to play Jed Spence at centre half, what more can he do? I think we just got to give the man the season, honestly, because it was like a training game for Newcastle. And actually, in the second half, Spurs took them on and could have had maybe an equaliser or two from Solanke chances, headers from across the box. So look, it is frustrating and it is upsetting. Of course it is, for Tottenham to have had just the most terrible Christmas and New Year period for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And this is an appalling season we're having at the moment. But until we're out of those cup competitions, and don't forget, a lot of you Spurs fans who are complaining right now will be the same Spurs fans that previous to this season were saying, I don't want another season where we fight for top four. I want a season where we only care about the cup competitions. Well, you can guarantee, and based on a lot of the players who are on the bench today, you can guarantee that Big Ange Postecoglou is mainly concentrating on those cup competitions. And it'll be interesting to see against Liverpool in the first leg of the Carabao Cup this Wednesday, whether Liverpool rests some players. Because if they do, then I think Spurs can hopefully give them a game if they get some of those ill players back. I'll go through what happened in this game. I am frustrated. I'm mainly frustrated with people having a go at Ange on this one. What more can he do? Honestly, it's the referees just totally embarrassed. It's an embarrassment to the Premier League. They give those handballs in central midfield all day, every day. He did it with Dan Burn. So to not give the handball when Spurs are 1-0 up and it's outside our box, stopping our own transition and going straight to Newcastle and score a goal, for him to not give the handball on the pitch, disgusting. For VAR not to overturn it is a shocker, absolutely disgraceful. And I'm like Ange, I don't like to complain about referees too much, but for me, that is an absolute piss take, honestly. An absolute piss take. And there's only one goal in it. We didn't concede a goal in the whole second half with Spence playing centre-back with Archie Gray. And that's why we lost the game. First half, we started really well. Early foul from Bergvall showing he wanted to get physical. I thought Lucas Bergvall played outstandingly today. He was unlucky to be taken off in the 60th minute for Yves Bissouma. But I don't know, maybe Bergvall will start against Liverpool. Werner took a corner in the second minute. Werner started today. He was absolutely diabolical, I have to say. Dog shit. He shouldn't be seen in a Spurs shirt again. I feel for him. It's not his fault that he's lost all his confidence, but no longer should we be playing him. And then, third minute, Spurs get their moment. A beautiful goal. Started with Brandon Austin, ball at his feet, plays a good ball into Porro. Porro finds Bergvall, who drives 55 yards up the pitch. Beautiful stuff. He lays it off to Johnson, who lays it back to Porro. First time cross, and Solanke with a Harry Kane-esque header into the far corner. Brilliant stuff. Some good defending from Archie Gray in the 4th minute. Headed it out ahead of Austin diving at a cross. And then the equaliser. I've spoken about it already. For me, it's an absolute fucking disgrace. Good finish from Anthony Gordon, sure. But when the referee's made such a big mistake, of course he's going to finish that off. Absolutely disgusting. 10th minute, Spurs won the ball high. Good chance for Solanke, but a good block from Dan Burn. Follow-up shot from Pape Matar was poor, straight down the goalkeeper's throat. 15th minute, I made a note that the fans were chanting that the ref doesn't know what he's doing. And at that point, the fans were really behind Spurs. They were on it. The injustice was spurring the fans on, and Tottenham needed to just drive forward. But unfortunately, fatigue, as have we seen in all of these games recently, set in really early. And after kind of the 20th minute where Austin made a good save at the near post, and at this point, Austin had already come out and claimed a number of corners and crosses. He was doing really well. But at this point, other than in the kind of the 24th minute and the 27th minute where, 27th minute where a long shot from Porro went over the bar, Isak and Newcastle really kind of turned up after that. And the whole rest of the first half, Newcastle were all over us. Isak missed a sitter in the 31st minute, and then endless corners from Newcastle around the 34th minute, and their goal came in the 37th minute across from Murphy, and Isak knocked it in at the back post. Solanke, unfortunately, who scored such a great goal, he had given the ball away from a Porro throw-in up the right-hand side. And for me, the one thing I'd say about Spurs, it's so easy to score against them. It's just kind of Spurs lose the ball in midfield and it's just 2 passes. Whereas every time Newcastle lost the ball in midfield, they had men back. They always had men back. And that's why Spurs found it so difficult. The rest of the first half, Spurs did have a corner in the 4th added minute of added time, but it was a good cross from Porro from a resulting break, and it was cleared at the back post. Second half, Reguilon came on for Dragushin, and that's when Spence started playing at centre-back. And I've just written, never seen an injury crisis like this. Injury or illness, Is Dragishin ill, or is it another knock? Who knows? Solanke had a good chance in the 46th minute, but fouled the keeper. And I think he even got booked. He was just going for a high ball. Ridiculous. I've written in the 51st minute, this is like a training game for Newcastle at the moment. They got in down the left time and time again. Spence did well to block across from the byline, though. Bergvall showing tenacity in the 54th minute. A shot from Sarr saved. The rebound from Johnson hit the post. It was a really tight angle, though. He did well to get it on the post, to be honest. And in the 56th minute, Spurs had a few corners in a row, but then there was a counter from Newcastle. A shot from Anthony Gordon, well blocked by Gray, with a rebound from Gordon, then whacked over the bar. Kulusevski then broke Gordon's nose with an accidental shoulder barge in the box in the 58th minute. Then the 60th minute, the changes got made, and he brought on Bissouma, Maddison, and Son for Sarr, Bergvall, and Werner. I didn't want Bergvall to come off. Neither did the crowd, and they booed that substitution. I have to say, I think that would be really good for Lucas Bergvall in the long term, though. He will see that the fans are behind him now. He had a good game, showed tenacity, got on the ball, drove forward with it. Good in the air as well for a little guy, Lucas Bergvall. Puts his body about. Good kid. I'm pleased for him. 65th minute, Austin claimed another free kick, brilliantly got winded for his troubles. 70th minute, and at this point, Tottenham now, with Newcastle kind of sitting back and just looking to hit us on the break, Tottenham really came into the game a bit. 70th minute, good play from Spurs led to a Decky cross straight into keeper's arms. More good stuff a minute later from Spurs, came across the box from Son on the left into the keeper's arms. Joe Linton got booked in the 72nd minute. Harvey Barnes came on for Newcastle, 76th minute. 78th minute, free kick, Spurs. Madders was fouled outside the box. And we whipped the ball in from Maddison, but it was good defending from Livramento, who impressed me today. Another player who was on Spurs' list back in the day, but we didn't pull the trigger on, and Livramento looks like a really good fullback. 81st minute, huge chance for Johnson. Son had got in down the left, and it was a little bit of a few chances came to Solanke. One came to Solanke, he had his back to goal. He tries to set up Kulusevski. It's on his right foot, so he doesn't hit it. Laid it to Johnson, who just tries to put power on it, and in the end, he doesn't get it on target, and it whacks it across the box, and Solanke, it comes too quickly for him. Can't get anything on it. And then there were 10 minutes of added time at the end, and Spurs made a few chances. Decky crossed one in for Solanke's header, but the keeper touched it over the bar. Of course, the referee didn't give it as a corner because he is a fucking idiot. Then Harvey Barnes had a chance saved. Austin was given man of the match, as I mentioned. And then the last effort, another cross and header from the header came in from Solanke, and he got a lot on it. Porro's crossing, excellent all day, but too much on it, straight down the keeper's throat, and Tottenham lose again. And I can guarantee you, Ange Postecoglou will come out in the post-match press conference. He said, my boys couldn't have given any more, and they couldn't. But the reality is, I said before the Christmas period, if we lost all 3 games, I could not see a future for Ange Postecoglou at this club. The way that Daniel Levy sacks managers. I think at the moment, with the way that the injury crisis has gone, with Udogie going down as another injury, I think with the illness, the way it's gone through the squad this week, I don't think Levy can and will sack him. I think he'll be given definitely the Carabao Cup semi-finals, maybe even the rest of the Europa League. And I just think basically he's come out this week in his interviews, Ange Postecoglou, and said none of those big players like Van der Ven, like Romero, like Davis are going to be back before February. So it's going to be more of this until February. We've got Liverpool this week. If they play their first team, I'm sorry, but we will get absolutely battered. We've got Arsenal away at the weekend. We will get absolutely battered. There's more of this to come. But for me, I don't see how he can make a change. Would you change it? Let me know in the comments. Would you bring Ryan Mason in as an interim? He's not going to get a manager in from elsewhere. And as far as I'm concerned, the way that it's gone for Amorim at Manchester United shows that to try and get a manager in from elsewhere, I think would be completely pointless anyway. But that does not take away from the fact that this is another devastatingly disappointing and inevitable result. Newcastle kind of knew all they had to do was put in 100%, put in the effort, and they would find a way to score goals because Tottenham are so easy to score against. And that's the only thing I can think is, if he did bring in another manager, would it be harder for teams to score against us? Possibly. But would that just mean that the players were kind of confused by the messaging, and therefore the rest of the season would just peter out into nothingness? Maybe we just have to do what Ange said this week and try and grow from this. Find ways through this time, get the players back around February, get into the next round of the Europa League, and have the players on such a buzz that they got through this horrible period of time that maybe we can do something magical and surprising at the back end of the season. But listen, I know you'll be saying in the comments, Ange out, and I know how disappointing and frustrating this is at the moment. But for me, there's no other option. I just don't see Ryan Mason or another interim manager like Stellini was as an option. And I think it will just get worse before it gets better. I think stick with him. But let me know what you think in the comments, guys. That has been my instant match reaction. Please do give it a like. Please do subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate all of your support. Thank you. And guys, back on Chris Cowlin's channel now. And this is the fan reaction show. I will be talking about the Tottenham versus Newcastle game. It finished Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2, with fans from all over the world. It's a real pleasure to talk to you. It's a very difficult time to be a Spurs fan at the moment, isn't it? Let's see who I've got in my green room. Okay, so I'm going to start with Melvin, who is in Malta. Melvin, can you hear me, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Melvin. Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Tell me after yet another defeat for Tottenham Hotspur.
I'm really angry, but not probably at what you think. I was really angry at some of the decisions with the refereeing in the first half. Sometimes you need a bit of luck, and we didn't have any luck today. Nothing. I felt everything went against us. There were moments. I think that handball changed the game. It could have been given. I think there was an elbow on Bergwall's head. I was very happy with the fight that we gave today. I mean, we matched them for energy, and we fought them till the last minute. We were in the game. We could have got a draw. I think a draw would have been a fair result, and I would have been happy with the draw. I fully expected us to lose. I just thought we're on our last leg. I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, I don't think we can get any worse by saying that. I don't know. It's just it's difficult to play Ange ball. You could see we're really missing Romero and Van de Ven, because they immediately push us 10 yards up the pitch, and I just think every time we win the ball, we're not winning it high enough up the pitch, and then all of a sudden there's too much in front of us, and I just feel immediately with them we improve straight away. The game today, I was happy with a lot of things, and I was disappointed with a lot of things. Like you said, we're very easy to score against. Everybody knows our weakness and how to exploit it, and they keep doing it. I thought Bergwall was very good at times, but very loose with his passing. Him and Sarr are still learning to play together. I was very happy with RG Gray as per usual. I'm happy with Spence. I thought we could have used Bentancur today. I thought he would have made a difference. It's a shame that he was suspended. I expected more from Johnson. I thought he would do more. Timo Werner, he'll give you some pace, but that's about it. Son looked fresh when he came on. Madison looked, I don't know, I think he looks injured to me. I think he's playing with a knock. Is not himself. Dragazin, I'm disappointed in. Maybe he was sick, maybe he was injured still a little bit, but I expect a bit more from Dragazin, from the guy you saw at the Euros. I think you would expect a bit more. Austin, I'm happy I'm going to mention first. I thought he was good. I would play him instead of Foster. I mean, Foster is at the end of his career. Austin's only at the beginning. Play him. I mean, he did nothing wrong today. At the corners, he looked immense. He put his body on the line, as you would when you were young. So I was impressed with him. So play him. Don't give Foster any more game time. He doesn't need it.
It looks like Spurs have signed a new goalkeeper today, so I wonder if they'll go for him as soon as they possibly can.
I've not seen anything about this, Barnaby. My dad told me right before I sat down to watch the game. He said we signed the keeper, and I said I've seen nothing. I've been off my phone today. Try to stay off it a little bit. But what I have to say about Postecoglou, I mean, he does change some things. I thought the substitutions when he took off Bergwall, that might have been a mistake. We lost a bit of speed and sharpness in the middle, but Ange ball worked a bit today in the end. It was an exciting last 20 minutes, but we failed ultimately because we didn't get any points. But Postecoglou, for me, he needs to navigate these few fixtures and get past them without being sacked. As the fan base, for me, I'm still behind this manager. We still have too many injuries. We're still very, very early in our project. And I guess,
sorry to interrupt, mate. I guess one question worth asking, Melvin, especially because we came up against an Eddie Howe side today. Eddie Howe, clearly, Newcastle played good football when they were on the ball. I thought they looked really good. They've invested in some really excellent players, Isak and Gordon and Guimaraes and Joe Linton. are excellent, excellent players, all of whom could play for Spurs. They never will, but they would be great Spurs players. But Eddie Howe says to them clearly, when you have the ball, you can play. But when you don't have the ball, you all get behind it. You all get behind the ball. And that is different with Ange. And for me, I said it during the watch along, Brennan Johnson, for me, is a player who clearly, when Tottenham have their best players playing, he is a danger. In what he can do really brilliantly, there are a few better at, which is that kind of getting in that inside right, a kind of half space, hitting it into the bottom left-hand corner if he gets that chance, or getting that cross to the across the front of the box to the far post. But when he's not in those positions, he offers very little. And there were so many occasions, especially in the first half today, where he wasn't working hard enough to get back. And that, to me, it has to be that Ange is telling him, take the risk. And that is, again, another reason. I'm not blaming him for the reason we lost the game. I'm blaming the referee for the reason we lost the game. But for me, when you see Eddie Howe and the way that he sets it up today, there's a way of playing good football, but also when not being easy to score against when you lose the ball and it's 2 passes and it's a goal.
Yeah, I feel we have nothing down the wings. Barnaby. I feel Timo Werner's offers nothing but pace, and Johnson just offers, something in a moment. In a moment, he can offer you a goal or an assist or a good pass or a good cross, but he doesn't offer nothing really. He doesn't trouble the defenders. He doesn't do anything. And I felt we've played. It's like we're a boxer who's playing wounded, who's fighting wounded. He has, we have one arm tied behind our back at the moment because we have nothing down the wings. Yeah. We have a very weak bench. We have a very weak defense because we keep playing people who are just fit. We have our best defenders and goalkeeper are injured and haven't played for a long, long time. And we're not able to play our brand of football. I thought also Kulusevski today was poor. Kulusevski didn't do much for me today. He tried and he pressed. And Solanke also had a very good finish. He's a very hard-working player, and to me, he was very good. He needs a bit more. He needs a bit more service. And I feel if we're back to full fitness and full team, we'll get more out of Solanke because we'll win the ball much higher up the pitch. We'll get more of our attackers that way. And I just felt today that the team showed some fight. The team showed that it had 4 or 5 days rest, and I thought not starting Son was not a mistake, but I think it was a calculated, substitution. I think he's going to save him more for Liverpool, which is an important tie for us this season, because I think a lot of fans keep saying we're in the cup, but we're only in the cup for 2 more games, and Jose was the same thing. Jose's career at Spurs lasted so long because we keep saying, he has a cup final, but that can only save you for so long. So with Postecoglou, we keep saying, we're in the League Cup semi-final. We can't keep saying that for long because 2 more games, and it's very, very realistic that we'll be out of that competition. But all I want to see from Spurs at the moment is a fight, and they showed it today. And with us being so deprived with injuries, sickness, and everything, they showed a very, very good fight against a team who's not conceded in 4 games, who's playing really good football under a very good manager, who are 4 years under their project. So we have to keep some things in mind.
But what do you say, Melvin, to all of the kind of people on social media who's saying Ange is a fraud, Ange is a joke, Ange is the easy, Ange is... I've likened it a little bit to, I remember watching Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds. I loved watching. I was like, oh my God, I'd take Bielsa as Spurs manager. It'd be so fun. Well, we have like a Marcelo Bielsa now where we are just conceding far too easily. How long... I'm with you in that I think we have to stick with Ange. I don't think there's another option unless Levy kind of out of the blue is willing to pay a huge compensation to someone like Iraola. Then I think we have to stick with him. But what do you say to those people who say that he's just out of his depth?
I don't agree that he's out of his depth. I think he showed us in moments when Ange ball works and it's in full flow. It's good football and we can fight. I think we're still very early in our project, and to win, he's won certain games in a certain manner, and the City game, for example, that screams out. The Liverpool game last season, and we've beaten Villa 4-0.
Sorry, Melvin, sorry to interrupt. Can I play devil's
Yeah.
advocate just for a second?
Yeah,
He is, he's in his second year. He's over a year and a half into it. So you could deem that as early in his project. But when you look at Unai Emery and what he did at Aston Villa incredibly quickly, is there an argument? Is there an argument there to say if you get the right man at the right time, then actually it can change quicker than it's changing at Spurs? I mean, Spurs. What I will say is Spurs have basically changed their entire squad except for Ben Davis and Son Heung-min.
Yeah, we've had to literally gut out our entire squad, and it's a process that takes time. And he compared it to like pruning. He said pruning, like you're cutting the branches of a tree, and for a while when you do that, you have to. The tree looks bad. It doesn't grow. It takes time for the new branches to form. You know what I mean? If you're comparing this so. For me, these things take time, and look how many players we had to move on, and how many players didn't work. We failed Conte, we failed Jose Mourinho, these players failed us time and time again. We had to start new. We had to start from a fresh squad, and we're starting to see today. We saw Bergvall for the first time, in my opinion. We saw Bergvall for the first time today.
Yeah, he's going to be a player.
Archie Gray, we've been watching him for a while now, playing at centre back, not even his position. So investing in the youth was a good decision. I know we're not in a position to buy £100 million striker yet, or 100 like Arsenal did with Declan Rice. We're in the moment. We're in a position to find our ground, find our best 11, and grow from there. I think it's key. We're in a good position right now to strengthen, because we know where our weaknesses are. We have the financial capability. We have wages to spend, because we cleared up 31 million last summer, and we still have room to clear out. I think we have players we can sell and make money. I don't think we should jump the gun on Postecoglou yet, because we're still early. I think we should back him with our time, not with money. With 100 million, we need to back him with time.
Melvin, just before I let you go, can I just say I've just seen that Ange was asked about Newcastle's first goal, and he said, if all things were balanced and equal, we would have won that game. So it's very rare for Ange to come out and have a go at the officiating, but that's the first time I've really seen him do that. And for me, the thing, and I'll let you go after just asking you this, Melvin, for me, the thing, as I said in my post-match, is those free kicks are given all day, every day in central midfield. They are given all day, every day in central midfield. And one was given against Dan Burn in central midfield. So why is the referee not given that one? Explain it to me.
I don't know, but when I saw Postecoglou going absolutely crazy, waving his arms and shouting, I've never seen him do that. Never at Spurs. And at home, I wasn't even at the game, but at home, I was rattled up. I was angry. I was into the game more. So I was happy he did that. I started shouting. We got really unlucky with that, because I felt it was a handball. I mean, it led to a goal.
He passed it. He passed it with his hand to the forward, who just one pass and they score. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, Melvin, sorry, I've riled myself up again, once again. But Melvin, listen, mate, really appreciate you being a part of the show today, and I'll speak to you after the next one.
All the best.
Top man. Cheers, mate. There I was, riling myself up once again. Next up is Wes from Atlanta in America. Wes, can you hear me, mate? And how are you feeling after that game?
Yes, I can hear you, Barnaby. Yeah, feeling, one, I do like that we fought, but I think this comes down to unluckiness, and then another situation where the referee, or the rules of the game is unclear, because to me that was clearly a handball. We would at least got a draw out of that game. Maybe we would have scored a goal in the second half, if our the players who came in did the same thing they did, playing on the front foot like we did. But that handball that really pissed me off, like, because in other situations, like say that was in the box or something like that, they probably would have gave a penalty in most cases, like that. So it was so blatant. It hit directly at his hand. Next, he touches the ball. He has possession of the ball. After that, he did one pass, and then boom, it's a goal. To me, that's just too. It's messing too much with how the flow within the game goes for that to not have to not have been ruled as a handball, because it just affected the gameplay too much. I think when it affects the gameplay directly like that, like it'd be different if he just kept it, like the team just kept possession, but they ended up not getting nothing out of that. I think then they would have just let it go. But for it to just lead so quickly to a goal, you have to look at that a little bit harder. And I'm sure there's going to be games you're going to look in the future games. I'm sure it could happen probably this weekend or the next weekend, and something similar is going to happen. And I bet they're going to give that as a handball. I bet they'll give that as a handball. The FA has to do better with the rules of the game. If we're going to go off these rules, we're so set on these rules. Oh my God, these rules. And you just let a blatant handball. Like his arm was too spread out. They said it was close to his body. No, close to his body is when his hand is like too connected to his body.
Wes, sorry to interrupt, mate, but the thing for me was he then gave a handball for exactly the same against Dan Burn, and then didn't book him for the handball for stopping the break in play for Spurs when he'd already been booked and it should have been a sending off. That's where to me it's totally embarrassing.
It's and then thing is that he should have probably been out the game probably beginning of the game when he was like out here hitting everybody in the face and everything in the beginning of the game. I think it was number 7, right? It was the same player, right? Who was the one getting in early trouble with us.
Joe Linton. Joe Linton did foul a lot.
Yeah, I'm like he should have already had a yellow already from the get go.
But it wasn't him. It wasn't him with the handball that stopped the Spurs transition. That was I think Dan Burn.
Okay.
But listen, Wes, you've just dropped off. Are you still there, mate?
Okay, nah, I said I'm back.
Wes, your camera's just dropped off. Yeah, we can hear you, but I can't see you. Wes, tell me where you're at. There you are. You're back. Tell me where you're at with Ange Postecoglou after that defeat.
I'm still with him. Like, what he had to put a right back who was already out of position playing left back, and then he had to put him at center back. Like, I don't, no, he's in the corner. Like, there's no. If we bring in whatever manager, I don't care if he's seen as the greatest manager right now in football, he's not going to do nothing with this team, whoever it is. Like, they can't get nobody to come in right now and to pull results out with the team. I don't care if they go back to if the next manager comes back with like a defensive style of play and we play more counter attack, we're still going to lose. We're still going to have the same problems. We're still not going to have the quality we need to beat the teams we need to beat. You might as well go with Ange and get the team back, get the team back healthy, and see where we can go from there. And plus, we're just in the beginning of this rebuild. They said in the press conference, like the higher up, saying, "Oh, we're in a rebuild. We have to then commit to the rebuild. Because I'm not going for this whole merry-go-round and all the people saying Ange out. Like, bro, you can't. That's what a rebuild is. Like, we're going to go through these kind of lows. Right now, we're going through because of the injury crisis. I don't think we'll be as bad right now. He finished 5th last year, under the circumstance. So you can only know, like, this is because of injuries. I think we'll be in a similar position, probably like 7th, 8th right now, if we didn't have these injuries. We wouldn't be in such a poor position if it wasn't for these injuries. You can't blame it on the manager. And some of this just comes off of refereeing. Some of this come off of just individual mistakes, like the goalkeeper with Foster making it crazy, 2-goal, losing 2 goals. Like, come on, he can't do anything about that. So, and then the sickness, the bug that happened early this week at the Hotspur way, like, you can't make this up.
I agree.
This man has everything on the back of him, man. And we're out here, and you got fans saying, "Oh, Ange out." Dude plays good football, but he has a actual direction of what he wants this team to play. And we see it even with the academy players that are out there, just 18, 19-year-olds who are out there playing. You see that it's working. They're getting in their head. They're starting to understand how he wants to play this style of football. Yeah. You gotta just let him. No, I'm not into that.
Okay, Wes, that was brilliantly put. I completely agree. And listen, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Let's talk again after one of the future games, Wes. Try and enjoy the rest of your weekend, mate.
Yep. All right, I'll see you. Come on, you Spurs.
Thanks, mate. Okay, next up, we are going to speak to Colin, who is in Canada. Colin, how are you, mate? And how are you feeling after that 2-1 defeat to Newcastle?
I'm well, Barnaby. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound all right. It felt like inevitability to me, but also Spurs did put in a shift second half. But just for me, the refereeing for that goal, I don't care if Joe Hart tells me as a co-commentator, as the pundit, that it's letter of the law. Those, for me, those handballs are given all day, every day, on every football pitch in the Premier League in the centre circle. And the fact that he didn't give it, for me, was just changing the game, and it's bad refereeing.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Obviously, it had a huge impact in the game. I think there are some positive takeaways from the game, but that was obviously a pivotal point, and we paid for that. We've had our own share of good luck in the last year and a half when you think of the Liverpool call at Spurs last year and things, so it does kind of even out. It's frustrating because obviously we needed to get something out of that game and we didn't.
Yeah, very frustrating. So you talked about some positives there, Colin. What are they?
I thought Austin was great. I was really, I'm not going to fault Fraser Forster for anything he's done. I think he stepped in and done a really admirable job. But it's really nice to see Austin get a chance, and I thought he played very well. I was a little worried of the first goal. I thought maybe could have got a touch in the first goal, but I think he was overall a real bright spot. I thought we played Newcastle better than we have in the last 4 games. If you look at they beat us 4-1, 4-0, and 2-1. So we're 0-4 in the last 4 against them. And I really thought Eddie Howe delivered a masterclass in those 2 games at Newcastle. So I thought we played them better. I thought the substitutions we made in the second half were better. But, I kept thinking about being on with you, Barnaby, after the game, and I thought about expectations and where are we in terms of expectations for this club? And I think if we can define where we are in expectations, it answers a lot of questions, particularly about the manager. So I don't know where are we happy? Where do we want to be with this club right now?
Do you know what? Listen, I agree with you. I want to be in a position where we are enjoyable to watch, but also where it's not inevitable when I go to and watch a game that I know that we're going to lose. And I do understand that a lot of that is down to the injuries and the illness. But my fear for Ange is, again, I'll state it again, that a lot of the injuries it cannot be coincidence that we get so many of the same muscle injuries. Mm-hmm. It has to be somewhat down to the relentlessness of the training and the relentlessness on the pitch. You saw it today from Newcastle. Every time Newcastle won a free kick, they took their time over it. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, a chance to get the team back, recovered, some air into their lungs, and for their muscles to recover. And Ange wants us just playing the free kick first time, every time. And I get the idea. The idea is that you out-stamina the opposition, that they fatigue. But we do not have the squad to play that at the moment. And as a result, we're continually losing more and more players. That is my problem for him. And that is where I think it kind of disconnects with my expectation, because if I don't have any doubts whatsoever that if we had the first team on the pitch, we would not be currently in 12th or 13th or wherever we're going to end up after this week. We would be in 6th or 7th, maybe even 5th. Mm-hmm. But he needs to get the first team on the pitch. And if he continues to play in a way that's going to get them injured all the time, just like players got injured all the time at Celtic, and I've seen the reports, then it's not going to work for him.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point about game pacing. I mean, I'm a big Eddie Howe fan. It's like looking for another girlfriend, right? It's like, Eddie Howe looks really great. There's a lot of managers. Unai Emery looks great. But there's a certain, people ask on social media if he's out of his depth, and I think the jury's still out on that. I think you look at the way somebody like Eddie Howe manages a game in terms of pacing, as you pointed out, and so on. They seem really well drilled and really cognizant of the fact that those sorts of breaks within the game are important and so on. And I'm not an Ange disliker. I'm just not sure yet. I'm not sure because we haven't seen the consistent results to make us understand whether or not he is. The best managers in the world coach the English Premier League, and is he one of them is the question.
Yeah, really good point, Colin. Colin, I've only got about 15 minutes left. I've got people to get through, but thank you so much once again for calling in. Thanks for being part of the show, and I'll speak to you after the next game, I hope.
Okay, Barnaby, thanks so much.
Man, thanks, Colin. Bye-bye. Okay, thank you, Colin. Some really good points from him there. Next up, here is Steve from the Czech Republic. Steve.
Hi, Barnaby.
One of our regulars. How are you feeling after that, mate?
Robbed, actually. I thought we put up a fantastic performance considering how depleted we were. And like you say, I don't usually like to criticise referees, but apart from the handball incident, which was absolutely ridiculous that it wasn't given, you know, sometimes with these situations, you think, is that going to be given or is it not? I was, in my own mind, I was thinking he's going to give that and the goal's going to be ruled out. It wasn't any doubt in my mind.
Me too.
One of my brothers, who's actually, unfortunately, staunch Arsenal, texted me and said, how does that not given, you know, as well, you know? So anyway, apart from that, I thought Joe Linton's challenge on, what was his name? I forgot now. His challenge on Porro, very early in the game. He dead-legged Porro from the back, very late. Wasn't penalised. I thought yellow card. And then about 10 minutes later, he's hit his forearm into the neck of Bergvall, and he's gone down Bergvall. I don't know if you remember that incident. And that wasn't given either. And I'm thinking, they're getting away with bloody murder. And generally, I thought, you know, he wasn't really playing the advantage. Sometimes when we had a break and there was a foul and he could have allowed played on for us. There was quite a few times we didn't get the rub of the green, and we're very unlucky in the closing 20 minutes that, you know, we just couldn't get a touch on some of the crosses coming in. Yeah. So I thought we deserved a draw. I thought the guys did fantastically.
Steve, next up, we have Liverpool at home in the Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg on Wednesday, and then Arsenal away. You know, it's not going to get any better, is it? I mean, no, hopefully we'll have a few more men back for that Liverpool game, but you can't see anything other than us getting, frankly, destroyed in the Liverpool game because we'll be too open in central midfield, and then probably out set pieced in the Arsenal game at the very least. They'll play pretty tight and narrow, I would have thought. Yeah. And do you think Ange? I mean, I'm sorry to ask it again, mate, but is there a world that Ange can survive this?
This is the problem. Not my faith in him. A lot of people's faith in him. It's the fact will Levy continue to have faith in him and let him run with it, if you like. If we do lose these following two games, which are pretty expected, you know, with the depleted side and the teams we're actually playing. So I worry for him, because I think, you know, I back him all the way. I'd like to see him, you know, stay to at least the end of the season and see how we are, because I think I like the way we play, obviously, but extremely disappointed. Now the Liverpool game. I mean, I thought today we were getting absolutely battered. I was thinking, literally, I think 4-5-1. I was expecting it, not wanting it, but, you know, their form and our form. And it didn't happen. We almost got a draw out of it. I think.
Steve, can I interrupt quickly, though, and just play devil's advocate there? Do you not think that's kind of Newcastle being like, I don't think we need to overexert ourselves here. We've had a lot of games. We're 2-1 up. They're not really laying a glove on us. Like, we had a couple of headers and a chance of Brennan Johnson at the back post. But do you know, I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like if we had equalised, and it was a big if, don't you think they would have just found another gear and scored again?
I mean, you are playing devil's advocate. I don't know so much. I really don't know. I was very disappointed, and I must say, I don't care what anyone says, very disappointed in Brennan Johnson. He's giving us nothing. I mean, he can't cross the ball. He's not crossing the ball at all. That second chance he had, I'm not talking about the one from the tight angle where he hit the post.
The one he whacked.
The other one, he whacked it across the box. He's not. There was a brilliant ball in the first half from Bergvall over the defender's head to feet, and he mispossessed it. You know, and it breaks down again.
He didn't trust that the ball was going to get there, but you've got to assume the ball's going to get there. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, to me, I know he's all these goals he's scored. I mean, not being funny, but I could have tapped in most of the goals he's got at the back post at my age.
You've got to get there, though, Steve. He does make good. He does make good runs into the back post. That is one of his qualities.
That's good. But like the chap from Malta pointed out, he doesn't do a lot else. He's not bringing a lot else. And if you look at, I was watching obviously the whole game, but I was watching the way Gordon chases back and harries our fullbacks and midfield players when they have the ball. Yeah. and make it difficult for us on the ball. And he doesn't do any of that. He doesn't chase back, and obviously neither does Werner.
But do you think that? Do you think? Sorry to interrupt again, but do you think that's Johnson just being like, I can't be bothered, or do you not think that it's kind of Ange saying, take the risk on it? I'm backing us to clear it, which we very rarely do, and then the ball will fall to you because it doesn't change. Johnson doesn't get back the same way the Newcastle players get back, and nor does Son. It's frankly why we're so easy to be scored against, because as soon as we lose the ball in the midfield, 4 of them at least are caught ahead of the ball. And it's 2 passes and they're in.
Yeah, that's true. I do think Sonny does get back sometimes, but not enough. I quite agree with you there. There was another point I'd just like to make. I made it to a friend of mine at half time. Did you notice that the corners, who was marking Isak for them?
Was it Johnson?
It was Brendan Johnson. I couldn't believe it. The smallest player, apart from Porro, one of the smallest, slightest players on the field, marking them. I mean, didn't score from that, from a header. But I just thought, why? But anyway, it was just an observation, really. Yeah. No, I'm not looking forward to the next 2 games at all.
It's frightening time. It's a frightening time. Steve, once again, thanks for giving us a call, mate. Thank you for being part of the show today. Hopefully speak to you after the next game.
Yeah, I'm up for it. I'll be up for the Liverpool game.
Top man. Have a good one. See you later.
You too. All right.
That was Steve there. And next up, I'm going to go to Gary. Gary, can you hear me?
I can, Barnaby. How are you, mate? Okay.
Yes, I'm depressed, mate. I'm depressed. But Gary, I've got about 8 minutes left. I've got one other person to speak to, so probably 3 or 4 minutes. But tell me how you're. What did you think of that overall? Any positives to be found?
Yeah, there's a few positives to be fair. I thought Brandon Austin was excellent today. First full game for Tottenham. I think he looked really assured. I much prefer him to Forster, obviously. I thought Bergvall was really good. I thought we commanded the midfield, certainly in the early part of the second half, first sort of 10, 15 minutes, second half. And I actually thought Reguilon did really well when he came on. He never let himself down, considering he's sort of been out in the wilderness for a period. Thought he actually did really well. But there's a lot of negatives as well, Barnaby, isn't there, unfortunately? And that for me is the issue.
What are the most pressing negatives as we go into a run of games against the 2 best clubs in the country?
Yeah. I mean, I've put some notes down, excuse me, as I was watching the game. And I thought the first goal with the handball, obviously it was a ridiculous decision. The Premier League have obviously scrapped the handball rule and not told anybody. But I just thought we overplayed out from the back. I thought we kind of created our own issue there. I thought the second goal, Spence switched off. And obviously then it was an easy sort of tap in. Johnson looks like he's running in treacle, in particularly when he goes back. I heard what you said to the other gentleman, in respect of, maybe he's being told not to run back. But even when he's running back, he's jogging, Barnaby. He's not sprinting.
I agree.
Jogging. Werner's a complete passenger. Shouldn't ever get on that pitch again for us, in my opinion. And it's just we've conceded. They said a stat on the commentator. We've conceded 20 league goals this season. We're wide open. The system doesn't suit some of the players, in my opinion, and you have to adapt to what you've got. I'm not Ange out, but I do feel I was on Chris's fan calling show during the week. I said the same thing. I do feel that he's going to do for himself, unfortunately. And I think we're looking at the next 6 games. We've got Liverpool, obviously, Tamworth, Arsenal, Everton and Leicester. I think if we get smacked by Liverpool, if we get smacked by Arsenal, he'll be lucky to get to the Leicester game. Where do we go? If we get rid of him, where do we go?
Gary, the thing that I keep coming back to is my memory of Bielsa at Leeds. The Leeds fans absolutely loved Bielsa. He had the attitude they liked. He was clearly a good man manager. He said the things that they wanted to hear. But in the end, for the Leeds board, it was just too much. And they had to do it. And I kind of agree with you that I just think, at the moment, I have to say, I think the only thing actually maybe keeping Ange in a job is how Amorim has started at Man United. I think that has really shown that actually it doesn't always work to change someone and get the new manager bounce, even if you pay huge and exorbitant compensation to get the manager who's the most sought after. And at this point, I think that is kind of keeping Ange in the job.
Yeah, I also think, at the end of the day, I know he's got loads of injuries. I mean, today, dropping Spence back into central defence. I mean, it's not ideal, is it? But I think at times where he has had the opportunity to even look at changing the system, trying to adapt to the teams we're playing. We just play the same way, like you said earlier, we're wide open, and it's just a couple of passes, simple ball over the top, and the answers, it's always the same outcome, isn't it? Every time.
It's always down the left-hand side as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, both sides, but that down the left-hand side,
that's where
teams are just going to get in every time.
And I think that's got a lot to do again with Johnson, just jogging back. He's got. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's scored a few goals this season, albeit they've been tap-ins. But you've got to be in a position to tap it in. Yeah. But when the ball's going the other way, Porro's sprinting, and then he's got two players there. Which he's up against, and Johnson's like 40, 50 yards down the pitch, trotting back. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking.
Gary, I completely agree. Gary, I've got to speak to one other caller before the end. But listen, thanks so much for being a part of the show, and let's speak again after the next game.
Appreciate it. Take care, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, and finally today, Paul O'Rourke over there in Ireland. Paul, what can you add? How do you feel after the Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2?
Bit conflicted. I don't think there's been a game. It's been a game for a long time where emotions have just gone up and down on a regular basis, to the point where there was a part of the second half. I think we had got the corner. Something simple. Reguilón was riling the crowd.
Yeah, saw that.
He let out a roar, and this might sound silly, but I had a tear rolling down my face. I said, "Right, these boys are giving it." And to be fair, we gave it in the second half to the best of what we could, which is a positive. I think it looked like we changed completely. We made it 3 subs. So the 3 senior players came on. I think we were far better after that. Now, we do touch on your point, playing devil's advocate. Did Newcastle take their foot off the gas a bit and say, look, we don't really need to do that much? I think we're fairly comfortable, but I think we absolutely gave it in the second half. We really did. Timo Werner, if we're paying his wages, just send him back to whoever owns him. He does nothing for us. He does absolutely nothing. And it's so disappointing because yes, would be class, I suppose, as a senior player, but he's doing nothing. He's doing absolutely nothing for us. I would rather, one of the 17-year-olds.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Paul, let's try and end this on a positive. Talk to me about how you felt Lucas Bergvall played, and do you think he was unlucky to get taken off?
Unlucky to get taken off, but I would like to think that is a substitution looking at Wednesday. Yes, you'd like to see him.
Sarr is suspended, isn't he, on Wednesday? We've got 2 suspensions Wednesday. Who's the other one?
But
I know Sarr is suspended anyway, yeah.
I'm not too sure. But I'd like to think that is down to Wednesday. I know we have injuries. There was an illness. There's also fatigue. I think that's as clear as day. Yeah. You're touching on Johnson, not, tracking back and so on. These boys must be tired. Like they're putting it out there. We're dealing with a massive injury crisis, and these boys are probably putting in more minutes on the pitch than what they may usually. So I think that's part of it as well. But yes, I would have liked to see them stay on. In normal circumstances with a fully fit squad, we would be having a different conversation, a completely different conversation. But unfortunately, we're not. So looking at Wednesday, first leg of semi-final at home, with what I would hope is, a second string Liverpool. Will we be good enough to at least get a half decent result, in the hope that our squad is going to be a whole lot better come the second leg? Only Wednesday will tell us that. But I think that's what that substitution was. Get him off the pitch. He's probably going to play 90 minutes on Wednesday.
Yeah. Paul, listen, thanks so much for being a part of the show today. I'm afraid I have to let that go, but let's talk after that Liverpool game. And yeah, like you said, the only thing we can hope is that we can somehow find a way to stay in that game. Have a good one, mate.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching today's watch along. Another disappointing, if not inevitable, loss for Tottenham Hotspur. If you would like to appear on a future episode, calling in after the game and speaking to me, do email tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. That's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. Also, Chris will be back with the Spurs Chat podcast in about 5 minutes' time on this channel. It'll be a different stream, but stay on the channel. He will be joined by Ricky Norwood, Craig Dearman, and Johnny Bowe. And once again, just going to tell you that the Spurs Chat podcast has been nominated at the Sports Podcast Awards 2025 in the Best Team Podcast category. You can vote for that. Do give Chris and the Spurs Chat podcast a vote in the description box below. The links are there. The closing date for voting is the 13th of January, and the winner is announced on the 30th of January. Guys, once again, another defeat, but I don't know what more I can say. I said it in my post-match reaction. I just don't see that sacking the manager at this point is going to do anything. They worked their nuts off today. I do think Newcastle probably took their foot off the gas a little bit, kept us at arm's length, but the boys tried really hard. I thought Lucas Bergvall was excellent. I thought Jed Spence did well at centre-back, didn't concede a goal in his first match at centre-back, possibly in his career, certainly in the Premier League. There were some small positives there. He did rest some players, or was it because they were ill? So hopefully we can get that illness out of our system before Liverpool. Huge game. First leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final Wednesday night. One thing I can say, back in the noughties, we played Arsenal when they were at their height in the Carabao Cup two-legged semi-final, and we were expected to get trounced, and we actually found a way to trounce them 5-1 at the Lane. I think we did a similar thing to Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. Can Spurs find a way to repeat history and give us the biggest surprise of all in that first leg on Wednesday night? I'm trying to remain hopeful. It's been a difficult day, but like I said, please do stick around on Chris's channel for the Spurs Chat podcast and try and find a way, guys, to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Come on, you Spurs.